Late and gay.
Late and gay. Late and gay. Late and gay. This is the latest, gayest show that has ever existed. Nothing has ever been as late and gay, later or more gay than than this one. Hello. We have 3 concurrent viewers, so people are here, even though it is 1:30 a.m. when we are recording this.
It's an early one.
An early one? Yeah, sure. Early and gay. It doesn't matter. Most people watch this after the fact anyways. It's only that we don't get as many super chats if there's not as many concurrent viewers. Not that it matters, because usually the people from the UK wake up around this time and realize, it's 5 in the morning and I've got a notification for Rewatch Anime live streaming. Well, you know, we're here. We're queer. Did the volume work? Did you check?
Yeah, we sound all right.
I turned us down a little bit because, like, in spite of how quietly we're talking, because we're close to the microphone and I had it turned up really loud, we're, like, peaking through the last episode. So I was like, damn. I mean, our voices sound amazing. From our perspective, we're in, like, a big room. The sound insulation is fine, I guess, but it sounds echoey to me because I can hear behind me where my voice is bouncing off the walls, but the microphone's not picking that stuff up, I don't think. So it sounds way more like we're just, like, you know, loud and up close in your ears than it does in real life, where it sounds all kind of spacey. So I'm happy with it, is all I'm trying to say. Okay, we should probably start this fucking show. We watch anime. Hello, everybody. It's another week of Bird and Bee. You're Bird. I'm Bee.
And we watch anime.
We watch anime. We watch old anime. We watch new anime. We watch anime that you're just seeing today. We watch anime that has immediately, as soon as we started this recording, like just now, I think Zom 100 episode 3 like started airing, or like is out. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We've seen episode 2, and that's what we're going to talk about on this episode.
We watch anime where a guy is turned into a vending machine for about 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. We did watch... We almost watched the vending machine anime. Because we were curious about it. It seemed cute that he dies by way of the vending machine falling on him.
But then he's like a vending machine nerd.
Yeah, he's a vending machine otaku, and it was way too in-depth immediately about all the abilities he has. And how, like, he categorically knows every possibility the vending machine could have because he's such a vending machine otaku. And I was just like, this is fucking a lot. Like, I think
I would have been more down for it if it was a girl vending machine.
Maybe.
But overall, not a good concept.
I know a cute girl's gonna find the vending machine and start carrying it around, but, you know,
the birds and the bees.
How is someone a vending machine otaku? By, like, being, you know, just knowing everything. He just knows
everything about all vending machines, I think, is something he says at one point.
He's just, like, the foremost expert. Like, the reason he dies for the vending machine is he sees it's about to, like, fall off the truck, and his thought is like, oh no, that vending machine is going to fall off the truck. Anyway, it was too much.
He like rockets off of a cliff and connects with the vending. It's very crazy.
So we didn't really try to watch very much of that, but as you may know, this season we are only following a few new shows. Jujutsu Kaisen 2,
which was a doozy.
It was an eventful episode this week. Mushoku Tensei was not as eventful. But, you know, some things happened. There were some emotional events.
Rudius is now a Pokemon. Quagsire.
Oh, yeah. We watched the new Pokemon, which was also very, very cute. And we watched the new Zom 100, which was also very, very cute in its own way. Which is a very violent way. But, yeah, other than those 4 new shows, we've been keeping up with 7 classics. And, you know, I'm not going to name them all because we're just going to go through them anyways. And they're right there in the fucking description where there's the table of contents if you're watching the edited version of this. There's been newcomers to the channel during a period where I couldn't get the new episode edited in time. And I don't know how it's going to be tomorrow because we have to take a sudden unpaid 4-hour drive tomorrow because of reasons, dumb reasons.
We're gonna go see Mount Hood.
We're paying for someone else's mistake, and with our time. And so I don't know if I'll be able to get this episode edited immediately tomorrow. So if you come here and you're on the live version and you're like, where's the table of contents? I put it in the edited version because that's like the definitive episode that I expect people to return to. If somebody wanted to time code the live versions, they're free to do it, but I think it's better to just wait for the edit if you really only care about certain sections, or honestly, real easy mode, because of the fact that the images are on screen for the duration of the shows. This is actually how I edit the podcast. I scroll to where the image changes and then I cut there.
Wow.
And if there happens to be a bathroom break or something, I cut that out, or a long silence, because we usually only do that stuff between shows. There's not a lot of editing in the edited version. It's mostly just to cut the really egregious stuff that would make it hard to return to as a podcast, and also to make it something I could upload on Spotify whenever I remember to get around to doing that. Look, we've had a hell of a time at work. We're still in Portland. We talked about in the last episode having all of America like packed through my brain and how that was a dizzying experience. I woke up the next day after the last podcast and my shoulder was just in the worst pain I've ever experienced, from like a muscle cramp just being like all throughout the whole area. So I was dealing with that all week, just being in excruciating pain. A lot of the time I was just kind of sitting around on Discord having conversations to dissociate from the pain. It really put a lot of things into perspective for me, of like appreciating things I have in life, because I always remember that, hey, however upset I already am with my situation, there's always some way that it could just be much worse, and I'd have it wouldn't change anything other than my situation is worse. That's how I felt about having just being in pain. It's like, yeah, everything that sucked still sucks, but now it's just worse, and so everything that's good feels that much better. So it was nice to have the Discord, which you can find on our About page, because I get to talk to people who have some of the same interests as me and theorize about the shows we're watching. I really have been meaning to take lots of screen caps of things that people say that I can read on the show, because a lot of people make really great points either in the Discord or in the comments section. We did kind of a comment response thing at the end of the last season, but it was very disorganized because I just kind of opened the comment section and went. Now that there's a Discord, that would be almost impossible, but people say some really cool stuff about the shows in there that have, I'm sure I will quote some of it that I can remember. I have to, when we get to Jujutsu Kaisen, get my phone so I can read a bunch of text messages we got from Nino about how we're wrong about Jujutsu Kaisen, because he's read the manga. Shout out to Nino. I'll have to have him as a guest on this podcast sometime. Haven't been able to organize guests. I'm very sad because I have a lot of ambitions for this podcast. I really like the format, and we've proven that we can do it at this kind of bare bones level of just the two of us watching 11 shows every week, so it's sustainable at the minimum level, but I want there to be more guests. I want there to be more unique things I could do with individual episodes, of bringing people on for just segments that they're really interested in. We've talked about a lot of these things in previous episodes, but what makes it not possible is that we don't make enough money. And we floated the concept of doing 2 episodes per week, or the concept of doing a We Read Manga podcast that we'd only really be able to do once we had left our day jobs. How do we make that possible is what we were wondering. So we're talking about launching a $15 tier on our Patreon to access We Read Manga as a podcast, doing it every 2 weeks. So it'd be twice monthly, and just basically a really expensive show. but we can't afford to do anything like that otherwise. So we're going to go ahead and we're not going to launch this until we've actually read all the manga that we want to cover for the first episode and made sure that we can, in fact, produce 2 episodes of it every month on top of the show we're already doing, which is difficult currently even as it is, so I don't know, but we'll see. Bird reads really fast. We're going to be covering 5 manga. I think we're going to set up a goal where when we hit like $1,000 on Patreon, we'll make it so everybody who's at that tier is allowed to vote on like what the 6th manga that we cover is. So that way they'll have like some kind of power in the situation. We also want to have a goal of once we make like, we'll say $2,500 a month, that's when it'll be like, we definitely don't need to work anymore. We're making enough off of the Patreon, and we would increase to 2 shows every week. And then once we hit like 5,000, then we would increase We Read Manga to be a weekly show too. Because we'd have all the fucking time in the world to work on this podcast because we'd be making so much money.
That's a lot of shows.
Yeah, it's a lot of shows. But anyways, I'm not making those Patreon changes till we actually confirm we can make
We're just letting you guys know about things that we've been talking about.
We also got a $10 super chat from ASE Presents. Says, the new Invincible Adam Eve special is good. If you are looking for any one-off animation specials, can't wait for We Read Manga. Will patron for that. Excellent. I haven't seen that yet, the Adam Eve thing, but I did see I saw mention of it somewhere, probably on Twitter. I think I might have saw some fan art of it. But yeah, I know Invincible's supposed to come back like this year.
Yeah, November 23rd, I think.
We watched, God, that was like fucking almost 3 years ago, I think, when the first season aired. Anyways, is there anything else we should talk about before we get started? I always have like all week, I'm thinking about like tons of stuff I want to talk about at the top of the podcast, and then like all of it gets flushed out of my brain as soon as we start actually talking on the podcast, and then I ramble for like 6 minutes trying to remember what I was going to say. Then I remember it and I say it, but it takes so long to say it compared to how long it seemed like it would take inside of my mind that I'm like, oh fuck, I've already been talking for too long. Now there's no way I want to say all that other stuff. Fucking, that's going to have to wait. We got to get to this fucking anime.
What do you think the ideal viewing order is for Oppenheimer and Barbie?
I assume that, both movies are very long, it seems. Oppenheimer sounds exhausting. It seems like it will be a long, like a movie that you'll have moments where you kind of realize you're still awake and you're like, oh my fucking god, I'm still in Oppenheimer. I don't know if Barbie will be like that. I'm sure there will be at least some point in the movie, probably when it gets towards its big, ridiculous climax or whatever, that I'll be like, all right, it's still going. But this is how I feel about most movies.
Do you think Oppenheimer will be woke?
I don't. I think it will be bespoke. I think Barbie will be extremely woke from what I hear.
I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, we would have done Barbenheimer, but we're doing anime.
Yeah.
We watch anime, y'all.
For the record, I believe you should should see Barbie and then Oppenheimer.
Why do you think that?
Because you start yourself off with something, I assume it ends with a happy message. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, I didn't spoil it.
Yeah.
But, you'd hope the ending of Barbie would make you want to live. In general.
Well, that's why I'd want to see that after Oppenheimer, right? Like,
well, but it's also shorter.
You're feeling all devastated from Oppenheimer, and then you go have a pick-me-up from Barbie.
Okay. So you're proposing some kind of Oppenbee.
Oppenbee. Is it just that you want to see them in the order that spells Barbenheimer because that's how you've been thinking about it for a long time?
I don't know. I don't know that it matters. I don't even know if I want to see them at the same time.
Yeah, in like one go. Now that I know it's like a 6-hour fucking gauntlet, that's a bit much.
Alright, anime. What are we starting with today?
Starting with Maison Ikkoku. Maison Ikkoku.
This episode.
What is wrong with this man?
Which man? There's a lot
look,
of
he
men.
says, "Sir, what's wrong with you?" The guy is banging his head against the wall in the background there.
Oh, I see. What is wrong with him?
It's fucking exam season. Oh. Yeah.
I did not pick up on that. There were a lot of, like, scenes in this episode that I was just like, why am I seeing this right now? This was one of them. That makes sense.
So it opens up with being in a bookstore, and the exams are coming up soon, and everybody's just losing their fucking minds. There's one guy who's just, like, reciting calculus equations in the middle of the store. One dude is literally banging his head against the walls. It's like a madhouse.
Does he think that's going to make him smarter?
I think he's just trying to kill himself, honestly.
That's... never mind. I'm not going to... Wow. This episode made me feel... Oh, shit.
Oh, I forgot to plug the actual plug into this laptop here. That would make it have power. One second.
Okay.
You need another energy drink?
Sure. Oh, Mint and Riley just did a 12-hour live stream.
Jesus Christ.
Good night, guys.
12 hours. Is she playing Fallout?
I don't know. Let me check.
Here, plug this in. Plug. Okay. Bird is about as eepy as a person
not
could possibly.
eepy.
You sound eepy. You look eepy. Where'd the energy drink I just brought you?
It's down here.
Drink it. Drink it. Drink it. Peer pressure. Peer pressure. Peer pressure. Okay. Maison Ikkoku. So, the place is a madhouse. Everybody's losing their minds. Also, the one dude who lives in the house, who's like the creepy pervert, is like stealing a massive number of porn magazines from this store.
Well, it's the best time to do it.
Yeah.
Everyone's distracting the workers
Exactly.
by being insane.
It doesn't work, though, because they all spill out of his coat hilariously. This is where we first meet the main character's friends, like just a couple of dudes who...
They hang out.
Seem like probably more Chads, more normie kind of guys than he is.
Like in Midsummer, right? So there's like the main guy who gets sewn into the bear suit at the end.
Yeah.
And then all of his friends.
I haven't seen Midsummer yet.
Oh.
But, I know what you're talking about. So these guys are like, oh man, exam season, it's fucked. And meanwhile, he's like, I haven't gotten anything. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, you haven't done any studying? And he's like, I haven't made any progress with her. I haven't even, like, held her hand or something like that.
He's just totally daydreaming about making romantic progress with his apartment manager.
And they're like, this guy's not competition. Good to know. So this episode, like, in the first episode, the main character is getting tortured by all of his roommates, and eventually they sort of proved to the manager that he is a pervert and a fuck up and maybe deserves the punishment. Episode 2 was sort of about like settling in her relationship with everybody, but this episode really nails in like showing us, the viewer, just how much of a fuck up and a pervert and an idiot this character really is, while the manager is ignorant of it. Like, she still kind of thinks he might be okay because she doesn't see how everyone else sees him, including us, as just kind of awful, just kind of a dumb idiot, head in the wrong place always.
What is his name?
I can't remember. We should probably like look that up.
No, his name is Ronan, right?
Well, they call him that because he is a Ronin, which is what they refer to somebody who's failed the college entrance exams over and over.
You didn't get any boobs in your screenshots, right?
No, this is... I mean, you can see her boobs in a lot of shots in this negligee that she's always wearing, but we didn't include that here on the YouTube...
Well, she's walking around and it's specifically to mess with him or something.
She often is doing that to mess with him, especially because she keeps complaining about how cold it is, so she should probably be wearing some clothes. But, yeah, manager, she is endlessly considerate. She was really
trying to make sure everyone in the house is not messing with him. Not
fucking with him, yeah. She, just thought of, because she was out at the bookstore when everybody was losing their minds, and she literally was just like, you know what, it's exam season, I should be really nice to that guy today. And so she sees her walking around in the negligee, and it's like, I'm going to lock that bitch in the bathroom until he passes by. But she can't do it. She comes out, and as soon as she sees him, the first thing she says is like, "Ha, you're going to fail your fucking exam, you dumb bitch." And he's just like, oh.
Everyone's really mean to him this episode.
Yeah, but
feels unwarranted.
No, it's warranted. He really deserves it. He's a real fucking piece of shit, and we're going to see why later. This episode actually does get really good, I think. But I'll get into it. So, it's right here. So, basically,
he interrupts the kid because the kid's skateboarding, I think.
Yes, the kid is skateboarding through the hallway, and he kind of is distracted thinking about something else, doesn't notice, and then, gets upset with the kid and hits him. And the kid starts arguing with him about why he shouldn't have hit him, and is very much correct, but particularly this moment, he says, this hallway is so flat it rates on an F grade.
Because, he's implying that he's going to fail his exams.
I don't think he's trying to say anything about the main character. I think he's trying to... I don't know what an F-graded slope is, if that's a thing. I assume this is some kind of physics reference.
No, it's F-grade, like F, fail.
Well, why would the hallway be so flat that it's going to fail? What does that mean?
This whole episode, the manager is kind of just trying to get everyone in the apartment complex to not say F grade, take a fall, things like that.
So he's triggered by the fact that the kid said that phrase, but I don't think the kid intended to trigger him by saying that. I think he was trying to make... So the
later on in the episode, he does know that, and he uses it against him. Yes. Just after this.
Yes. I think the idea here... My take on it, because it's themed around the exam and the fact that this guy's a fucking moron who's not studying. I thought the point of this kid describing the floor this way is to imply that he would be better capable of passing this exam than the main character, because he knows shit, about the slopes of the floor and, what's good for skateboarding on. And, that's essentially the argument he's making, but this guy just hears the phrase F grade and smacks him in the head again. And the kid gets so pissed off, he runs off. We do not approve of
child abuse here on the We Watch Anime
No,
podcast.
Absolutely not. And that's why this guy deserves everything that's going to happen to him, is because he beat up this child pretty much just for hurting his feelings. And it's pretty messed up. So the kid runs to his mom, and he's like, "Mom, the guy beat me up." And she's like, "Well, look, he's just pissed off about the exams, just leave him alone until it's over." And the kid's like, "Fuck that, he hit me." And she's like, "Look, pay him back double after the exams." And he's like, "I'm not waiting that long." So he starts devising how he's going to fuck up this guy's day. But they all pretty much come to party in his room anyways. I don't know if they're considering this as any kind of retribution. The mom says, "Oh, he's been trained to start studying when people show up. So it'll be fine." And he's just like, "This is not okay at all." But manager comes and she sticks up for him.
The power goes out. That's what happens.
Yeah.
He finally gets to start studying, and then the power goes out, and I think what it is they go to the basement and it doesn't work. The fuses
I think it's the
fine.
attic, because it's like there's a bunch of gears up there where apparently the big clock that's on the front of the building doesn't work. These gears would be for that clock.
I was so fucking confused what the gears were about.
Yeah, well, she asks him and he says it's for the clock that doesn't work.
But yeah, they get there. They find a bunch of signatures of people who lived at Maison Ikkoku during the war. And it's cute. They do a little flashback like montage of a guy and a girl. The girl rides a bike. The guy is a soldier. I don't know.
I don't remember if he was a soldier, but they definitely are like here during, I assume, World War II, because a bunch of planes show up and start like attacking. So, yeah, they just find out that this building is old as shit. There's a bunch of people who have had romantic escapades here and carved their names into the walls. And, manager is all, like, mystified and intrigued by this stuff. And he's just the whole time, like, the lights are out and I'm with the manager. When can I cop a feel? When will be the appropriate moment to cop a feel? I wonder when I can cop a feel. This is why he is just not, his head's not in the right place, he's got to figure out, what he needs to do is get interested in the shit, like, oh yeah, this history stuff, look how intrigued she is, maybe I'll learn something about it. Oh, now I understand.
He can't be learning history, he's cramming for his exam.
Well, then he needs to get back to fucking work. He needs to be like, bitch, we can't learn about history right now.
As he said,
I got shit to do.
As he said, you can't study in the dark.
That's true. Well, that's why they need to get back to doing the what they're up there for. So
she gets scared by something. Oh, it's a mouse. She gets scared and passes out because of a mouse.
Yes.
And he catches her? ?
No, she just falls over and he lifts her up and then he's like, I'm gonna kiss her because she's passed out again. He did this in episode 2. He's doing it again, but she wakes up again and slaps him in the fucking face again.
Well, and the first time I think No, it was a slap, you're right.
After she hits him, she apologizes to Soichiro, and they're like, she's apologizing to her dog? No, she's apologizing to whoever the dog's named after, who's the special person to her, which this makes it even more seem like it would be her boyfriend.
I'm not going to name a dog after you. I just want you to know that.
Yeah, that would be strange. Yeah, I think it is strange if that is what she did.
Oh, you know what, though? I might name a dog after Digibro. That'd be funny.
No, please, God, no. Anyway, this episode...
Doggy Bro?
Enough. So the tenants catch him trying to kiss her. They give him guff. He gets slapped. I'm trying to remember if he does some other perverse thing. No, I'm thinking of Mushoku Tensei. I'm getting my perverts crossed in my brain. This episode ends with they're like seeing him off to go take the exam.
Oh yeah, and then he slides down like 8 city blocks.
Yeah, he just the road is just sort of curved, and he just sort of slides down the road. It's really funny. Enough. That's it for Maison Ikkoku, right? Do you have any thoughts about this episode? It seemed like you barely understood what was happening in this one.
This episode just felt like, hey, we're here. We're going to be here for however 96 episodes or whatever.
100 and something,
I don't know. We're in the procedure of Maison Ikkoku. Guy has to do something. Tenants don't want him to do something. Manager feels bad for him, but also doesn't really want him to do something sometimes.
Yeah.
And also she's got something going on with the dog and the guy the dog named after.
It's definitely reiterating stuff that we've sort of already understood. I wouldn't say a lot of new things happen in this episode in that sense, but
I like that he carries an athletic bag to go to an exam.
There's a lot of just good jokes, good little one-off cute moments. moments where the soundtrack and the animation just really click and work. And also, like, I thought the undercurrent themes about the kid, like, how just the idea that, like, he's the only sane one in this situation, but like he is driven to madness by the fact that everyone around him is such a piece of shit. It's a good, analogy for real life or whatever. Ads will run now for some viewers.
Oh, there was a point in this episode where I don't know if he's British in the show, the businessman.
Yeah.
He has like a tunnel into Ronan's room. He just
thank you for whoever reminded me his name. Last Essis reminded me, go die.
Go die.
I hate all. Last Essis said, I was almost starting to enjoy this episode until he tries to kiss her while unconscious. I hate all the tenants, including go die. Yeah. I mean, again, I do think that's part of the point. Is like she is the manager is the only likable one. She is a good person. Go die wants to be with her, and like. She's giving him way more of a chance than he deserves because she is blind to just how bad he is, and all the other tenants see it, and that's why they think he's worth abusing.
I kind of like the mom. The mom's cool.
No, she's an alcoholic and doesn't take care of her kid. I like the kid. I think the kid's a good
the dog. Character. The dog's cool, too.
And yeah, the dog is cool, but to me, the point of this is the comic victimization of a dumb asshole. Until he maybe starts learning from his mistakes or doesn't and just keeps getting beat up, and it's funny because he's a dumb idiot. Alright, well, that's Maison Ikkoku. Now it's time for Revolutionary Girl Utena. Episode 3.
I want a little monkey as my friend. I would like a little monkey as my friend.
Choo choo. So this episode is really interesting to me. It's very slow, especially at the start. It
starts with.
I think this episode has maybe a reputation of not being one of the better ones, but I think it's one that, especially if you've seen the show all the way through already, like it's hard to really understand Anthe that much at this point in the show because we don't know anything about her story. Who the fuck is she? What is her deal? If you do know all of that, you understand her behavior really well. But from Utena's perspective, she doesn't know any of that stuff, and so we only really see Anthe through her eyes in this early part of the show, which I think is why they organized the information the way they did. But it's...
I want to know what Choo Choo's deal is.
Choo Choo's just a cutie. He's just a sweet little monkey mouse ? So this episode, it's got two sort of conflicts going on. The real main conflict of the episode I would consider to be between Utena and Anthe. But the bigger, showier conflict that happens midway into it is between Anthe and a new girl named Nanami. We'll talk about in a second. But the main issue here is Utena does not like that Anthe has no friends. Anthe is not bothered by this fact at all. She does not really seem to care to want to have any friends. Not really something she's all that interested in.
That's not true. She has Choo Choo.
She sees it as, every time Utena says, don't you have any friends? She's like, yeah, I've got Choo Choo. And Utena's like, yeah, but, like... Choo Choo, as soon as she says this, Choo Choo immediately gets his face stuck in a glass, and in pulling his face loose...
his face is now shaped like the glass.
Yeah, the face is like pulled forward like the thing, and then Utena has to like push in Choo Choo's face. It's really cute. That's what she's doing in this shot. It's like right after she pushed it in, but she's like, yeah, I suppose he's your friend, but, like, you really should have, like, people around you can talk to and stuff. And this is, like, it's an interesting conflict between them because it's a point of contention of Utena just not understanding why Anthe is the way she is. And I relate to this conflict. I even feel like our relationship has had this conflict before, where this is like the introvert versus extrovert way of looking at the world, where we've had times where like you're like, hey, you know, you got to go out and talk to people and make friends. And I'm like, there are reasons I'm not going to do that. That I think this episode, specifically the situations...
You only talk to people with cool jackets.
It's true. Anybody wearing a cool jacket is probably better to talk to. So... This is where we have the saddest line of dialogue in this entire series. Utena declaring herself straight. You know, they say you can't revolutionize the world unless you break free of your egg. I'm just saying. Una needs to gay up. She's trying to tell Anthy that she wants a totally normal boy. Unrealistic. Utena is not like that. So basically she's upset that Anthy keeps saying like Utena-sama and like calling, you know, basically insisting that she's the husband, and Utena's just like, no, I don't need a rose bride, I'm looking for a normal man. And then that's when
what's his name?
His name is Toga Kiryu.
Toga basically hears this and shows up and goes, hey, I heard you were looking for a normal man.
Yeah, I heard you're looking for a straight guy. Well, guess what?
That's me.
So he immediately mentions something about the duels, which, you know, clues Utena in, this guy is, you know, he's also doing this thing. But he seems more interested in her, and he starts putting his fingers through her hair. She slaps his hand away all badass, like, hey, you know, maybe keep your hands to yourself. And he's like, well, hey, I think you and I could do some stunning things together, especially because we're bounded by fate. We've both got the rose ring. And she's like, oh, fucking shit, how do you have that? I guess she never noticed that Saionji was...
It's a weird thing to not have put together by this point.
All the student council members have one, but yeah, okay, whatever. She never noticed Saionji wore a rose ring. Amy says, I'm surprised how straight Utena is, considering how much her character is an LGBT icon. Don't worry, I don't think the show is happy about it either. I don't think Revolutionary Girl Utena wants Utena to be as straight as she wants to be in this moment. Utena has a lot of hang-ups about gender, you may have noticed. She has a lot of interesting takes and opinions about gender in her mind, so and what it means to be a woman. So anyway, the conversation between Utena and Toga is basically he really wants to fuck her, and she's like, nah. But then he's like, we got the rings, and she's like, what if he's the prince? What if this is that guy? And so she's watching him. Wakaba immediately knows the score, because this is exactly what she was doing to Saionji before. And she's like, you're checking out this dude. Well, you probably shouldn't, because he's a massive playboy, and he's broken every heart in this school. I want to mention, I tried to get really cool looking shots with my screen caps here, because I remember when I watched this show one time, way back, feeling that there had been a downgrade of animation episode for episode for the first three. The first one looks really, really great. The second one looks good, and then the third one looks okay. But actually, there's a ton of great shot compositions that kind of make up for maybe the individual, not being super detailed in the animation or artwork. This is a good one, but the one right after this is even kind of cooler, where when she's saying that he's broken all these hearts, there's a shot where it casts him completely in shadow up against the pillar, and all the girls around him, you see all their faces, to imply, if he hasn't with all these girls, he will. And he's kind of presented in this shadowy way. It's a fun scene, and there's a lot of just cool imagery in this whole episode.
A bunch of girls are bullying Anthy. We are not here for that.
No. But this gave me a lot of thought. Have you ever been bullied before when you were in school?
I was once bullied for having sideburns.
You had sideburns?
Yes.
Amazing.
I mean, at one point, I was trying.
How old were you?
I was in like the 5th grade.
You had sideburns in 5th grade? Damn.
Yeah.
Advanced.
I don't remember. Oh, fuck. I don't know. Nothing else really like bullying.
Lux in the chat says, Ikuhara does not create straight women who are happy. A girl's obsession with men in an Ikuhara show is a phase to be outgrown. That is really funny. Is it even an Utena episode if there isn't a slap or two in it? No, it's not. It's not truly.
Have you ever been bullied?
I have been bullied a lot, all throughout my life. Oh, I'm getting bullied right now. Bird just immediately punched me in the tummy.
Not a real punch.
No, it would have been. I would have made a loud oof. But anyways, as a kid, I got bullied. Like, I don't know, it was more verbal initially. I never got like beat up or like stuffed in locker or anything like that. But kids were always messing with me. And it's because I would always react, like I would always get emotional. Yeah, so I'm glad you chose that phrasing. I'm glad you understand where I'm going with this. There was one time on 4chan, this image that's like been burned into my mind, and it's this cute little girl from a show called Robot Girls Z. She's supposed to be like the personification of one of the like giant monsters from Mazinger. It's just a classic giant robot show. It's a weird thing that exists. But there's this one cute girl who's got like sock puppets on her hands of the like monster she represents. And it was just a picture of this girl. She looks adorable, but she's got tears in her eyes. And I don't even know if this is the character's name or why they chose this text, but it was on 4chan. So it's that image and then the text, Funabori equals fun to bully. And this phrase has been ingrained in my mind ever since. Funabori, fun to bully.
Is that what that means?
No, they were just trying to imply that's, it sounds, this is what her name implies. Funabori is fun to bully. That's why she's named this. That's I assume that's the implication. I came to realize recently, I'm fun to bully. The internet likes to do it. Real people like to do it. And when I was growing up, I always took it really negatively. Now I kind of take it affectionately, where it's like, if you are willing to be bullied, people also like that. Like, hey, this person will let me be mean to them. And especially because usually you get to be mean back, or they're bullying you because you're already mean. Which in my case, whether intentfully or not, I think I am just kind of a bitch. So it's why people want to bully me.
Hey, your words, not mine.
And Anthe is kind of similar. She's not really trying to be a bitch, but she is kind of a bitch. She is quiet because she does kind of look down on all these people.
Well, they're not trying to lead a rebellion or whatever.
Who?
These girls.
Are you talking about, is this a reference to something else?
No.
They're,
these girls, they're not trying to lead a rebellion. Anthe, knows all this kind of world-ending shit, or...
well, they don't know any of that about her.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why Anthe doesn't really care about them.
Yes, that's true. She doesn't care about them because they're not, they don't know any of the fucking crazy shit that she knows that's like above that. But it does go deeper than that in ways that we'll learn later. But I do think the best way I can describe it without spoiling anything is that she's been bullied in a way such as this for so long that she kind of just sees people as bullies. Like, her expectation is people are going to take advantage of me, people are going to use me. So that's why she's so ready to just be the Rose Bride, because she's like, I'm not escaping the circumstance of people are going to put me in the place they want me, and this is where they want me. Is like, I am just the absolute what's the word I can use that's...
They don't know I'm the Rose Bride.
They don't know I'm the Rose Bride. I want that meme now. I want, like, the her in the corner, and they're all like, yeah, we know. But, like, so in Anthony's case, in addition to her being sort of quiet and standoffish, she's also gotten attention from one of the popular guys, which is a good way to get yourself bullied and ostracized in school. I've known other girls who've had this problem before of getting bullied because of guys that they slept with or were even seen around. And
I just watched an episode of Suits where that was a flashback arc that Louis Litt had.
Amazing.
Something was going on like that.
How far into Suits are you? Almost done?
Yeah. There's only 8 seasons on Netflix. There is a 9th season, but I'm not gonna seek it out.
Amazing.
But yeah, I'm almost done with Suits. I'm very excited. Suits it's good.
No, not in the Utena talk. We'll do it.
It's gonna be one sentence.
Okay, what is it?
It's good. I'm glad to be done with it. So.
Well, yeah, fair enough.
I would like some suits, you know. I'd like a suit.
That would be nice. Buy us a suit and a truck and a house. Anyways, Anthe, I think...
Anthe, are you okay?
At this point in the show, I think it has done a good job of I think, conveying why Anthe gets bullied, regardless of understanding. Like, I feel sympathetic for her automatically because I see, in the same way Utena does, of like, why is this girl getting beat up by everybody? That's fucked up. I want to help her. But also, like, because I do know her backstory, I feel it even more deeply. And I think if you knew that, you wouldn't understand Utena's frustration of, like, why won't this bitch just tell me what's going on? You know, like, why won't she just give me any fucking information? And I think the reason is she doesn't quite trust Utena either. She likes Utena. She wants to trust Utena. But there's reasons that she doesn't, and it's because Utena's really naive, in particular about this one thing of, like, you should just be able to make friends. It's like...
She's definitely a rebellious girl, but is she a revolutionary girl?
She's not quite there yet. She hasn't quite learned... You have to break your egg in order to revolutionize the world. The student council has said it every single fucking episode, and they will every single fucking episode.
What was it they were doing this episode? Like,
pretty much they were just sitting at a table drinking tea.
Okay.
It was not particularly exciting. This episode, some of the reused sequences, and there's not a duel in this one, but some of the reused sequences are very much just there so that, like, there would still be that. Like, the student council, all they establish is she doesn't get letters from the end of the world. Isn't that weird? Yep.
Is this like a Mirai Nikki situation?
I don't remember.
Future diaries. So they're like cell phones that they're getting texts that tell them.
Yeah, I know that part.
That's what I'm asking. Is it like that?
No, it's not like that.
It's not future.
Not quite. They're getting texts about how they can change the future, I think, is more so. But not like in a literal sense. So, anyways, I think that what Utena doesn't understand is how easy Anthe is to bully. That, like, in addition to her being, like, quiet and off-putting or whatever, and, being seen with this popular guy and just, a victim of that circumstance, I think it's telling that the show chose to make her the only foreign character in the entire school also. She's, like, Indian or something. Everybody else is whatever race. I don't know. They have Japanese names. I assume they're Japanese, but the character design is
I don't know where this takes place, but it's anime.
Otori Academy. So anyway, yeah,
That's not what I mean.
I wanted to focus on the fact that Anthe is so easy to bully She's somebody who, when left to her own devices or is, quickly surrounded by people, is pretty much always going to get her ass kicked, and probably not going to do anything about it. But Ninamori shows up, and...
Her name is Nanami Ninamori.
Shit, you're right. Her name is Nanami, not Ninamori. Ninamori is the girl from Fooly Cooly.
Bass guitar girl?
No, the mayor's daughter, the purple-haired one. I'm getting my end names crossed up in my mind. Anyway, Nanami here. She is, I think, meant to be based on the bad guy from Carrie. If this episode had a It's Always Sunny name, it would be Anthe Gets Carried. Because that's what happens.
Yeah, that does happen.
This is the setup. If you can't see what's coming, what's coming. If you can't see what's coming. If you can't see what's coming, then you're not really paying that much attention. You're not thinking
coming.
It.
Yes. Popcorn. Ice cream so good.
So, Nanami tells Anthe, like, hey, you gotta come to this dance. You're the queen of the dance. You got elected queen of the dance.
No, you're nominated for queen of the dance.
You're nominated for queen of the dance.
You gotta sign up and wear this dress.
You have to wear this dress that I am giving you suspiciously, and you need to go to this dance. And Anthe's like, what the fuck ever? Please leave me alone. She has no intentions of going to this dance. So...
Then she's playing cards with Choo Choo as a sane person would.
This is a really cute scene and a great example of the way that this show uses visuals to tell quick little stories that keep it exciting to watch. Because the way this scene is staged, it starts off with her drawing a Joker from like a first-person perspective. Then it cuts to Utena, and she's like, "Oh, why aren't you doing something? Don't you have any friends? Whatever," badgering her about the lack of friends again. And then it cuts to a wide shot where we see that she's playing against Choo Choo. So, it's meant to trick you into thinking she's playing Utena, and then the reveal, oh, it's Choo Choo she's playing cards
Anthe once again says, I do have a friend, Choo Choo.
Yes, Choo Choo is my friend. And this just isn't good enough for Utena. So... apparently a package shows up, and someone has sent Utena...
2 packages show up.
...a dress that she is supposed to wear to this ball. And I assume that the other package is like a replacement. Like, did Anthe throw away the original dress or something?
No, it's because that's the dress that Anthe's supposed to wear. And the dress
she just didn't have it originally on her. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So they've both been sent dresses that they're supposed to wear to this thing, and of course Utena wants to go. She wants to go see.
She wants to meet a regular guy.
Yeah, she wants to see if this regular guy might be her prince. She's pretty sure he's not, because he seems like kind of a douchebag. But she's never seen this ring before. She wasn't paying attention apparently before, and so she's super interested. She insists that this will be good for Anthe. Like, you're going to make friends. You're going to hang out. You're going to be cool. You're going to have a good time. And Anthe's just like, I don't think so. Like, whenever I'm in a place with lots of people, all their faces kind of start looking the same, and it just freaks me out. And
nice.
I was like, yeah, that's relatable. That's pretty much how I feel. There's a lot of people. They all just kind of blend into one, anonymous mass.
Anonymous.
And Utena's just like, nah, you gotta do it. And you see this kind of look in Anthe's face where she thinks about fighting because she's like, I really need you to understand. But then she just kind of lets it go because she's the Rose Bride. And, like, she has to do whatever her master says. So she just kind of takes it as a command. Now, Utena doesn't really process that Anthe is taking this as a command. If she did, if Anthe had said anything, Utena probably would have felt bad about it. But Anthe didn't say anything, so she just kind of passively lets Utena fuck her over into this scene.
Oh shit! Here we go again.
Look at this fucking dress.
Yeah. Hey, look, a brother and sister are close in anime.
Oh, it's going there. She definitely wants to fuck her brother very badly.
That's strange.
Yeah, basically they're like from. There's gonna be an episode explaining this, but they're like from a rich, upper crust family, and she thinks that they're basically untouchable. That the two of them are just above everyone else, and so the only way that she could prove that she was as good as he is to be the one with him, because whoever he's with is going to be the ultimate girl, you know. And that's how he feels about Utena, is that she is in fact said ultimate girl that he needs to be with. But Nanami doesn't know this. Nanami seems to think that he is obsessed with Anthe, because she's heard him talk about Anthe because of the whole dueling thing and her being the Rose Bride. So she just thinks, oh, he keeps talking about this bitch, I gotta get rid of her, not realizing that Anthe is not actually that interesting to him. Utena is. But nonetheless, she's got this cool dress on. I think it was the blogger AJ.
I hadn't noticed the big bow, but yeah, that is dope.
There's an anime blogger called AJ the Fourth. I believe her blog is called For Me in Full Bloom, who did some analysis of like flower language that's used in this show. This dress is like directly based off of a flower that is like an insect trap of some kind. It looks really sick. Very like Disney villain, like evil fucking bitch, you know, attire. She's ready to fucking snap these two in her trap, but yeah, they show up, and this is one of those moments where I've said that you remind me a little bit of Utena, when she shows up in the dress and everybody's like, oh my god, she looks great in boys' clothes, but in a dress, she's fucking perfect. That's Bird in a dress, essentially.
I see.
Close to the microphone. So yeah, Anthe and Utena show up. Utena's stunning, of course. Toga's blown away. He's like, yeah, I definitely want that girl. And this is where a relatable scenario to me happens. Of you show up to a party that you kind of didn't want to go to, and then the person you're there with goes off, and you're like, oh, fuck. Now I'm at the party by myself. Dun, dun, dun. And things
or
are not
like
going to go good
the
for
grocery
Anthony.
store. You know, like when we get separated in the grocery store.
I don't feel like the world is crashing in on me so much at a grocery store.
What about when I leave you at the register to go get something?
No, that's fine.
Oh.
The grocery store is not, you know, I don't usually know anybody at the grocery store. I'm not worried about what's going to happen at a grocery store. And you could be picking your butt at the grocery store. They're not
Don't do
care.
that.
You could pick your butt.
Please don't advertise picking your butt at a grocery store.
I'm just telling you, it's possible. It's something you can do.
You shouldn't do it.
The secret is to find food and eat food. Ellen, I agree. I'm a master of eating the food first at a party. If I see that there's food and people haven't started touching it yet, I'm just like, let me fucking rip this Band-Aid off for all of you.
It's like Maddox dancing first at weddings.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Except more self-serving. All right. So, yeah, they show up. They look amazing. They separate. Toga's really trying to get it in. She's really like, do I want that dip? And then, yeah, basically Nanami
orchestrates for a, like, service guy, butler, to spill champagne on...
Oh my god, look
Anthe.
at this. It's like jizz spray.
And, oh man, that sucks.
I really like this shot where when she realizes she's alone, like, she sees everybody in the crowd. It's just like this faceless mob that's all staring at her. And, like, this cannot be literally happening. Like, everybody did not just suddenly turn to surround and stare at Anthe. But this is the specific trauma that will be explored later in the show. Like, this happened to her once before. So this is purely like a PTSD flashback she's having to something much worse that happened in her past. But we won't really explore that till way later.
But anyway, so, you know, you would think, oh, she got champagne all over her. That's not so bad. She can recover from that. Uh-oh. Turns out it's a dissolving dress.
Yes, so Nanami like in this episode it's played very dramatically, but Nanami is like a Dick Dastardly level like a cartoon supervillain. Like she's like a Wile E. Coyote, is that a good example? Yeah.
He doesn't get away with stuff usually.
She doesn't either, really. I mean, in this case, she kind of does, but it's subverted in that Utena makes things fine for Anthy, but it's not really in Nanami's face that hard. It will be. She is going to be, like, because of her doing this, and, like, somebody I know in the Discord had said, like, this is such a traumatizing thing. They were just so angry at Nanami as a character that, like, you know, it made this like a hard episode to watch. I totally get that. I felt that the first time I watched it too. Nanami is going to be the like pincushion of this show from now on. Like it's just going to relentlessly lay into this character. She gets a bunch of her own episodes. Most of them are just to make fun of her.
Good.
It was Amy Worrell. Yeah, okay. Yeah, she is. Oh, you wrote also, this is why I despise Nanami so much. This isn't the bullying we saw so far, which is of course horrible, but the sort of thing that can scar someone for life, especially someone like Anthy. Yeah, for sure, it's devious. I can still remember
devious.
Like the most plotted out bullying I ever received. When I was in the 3rd grade, I was at a gifted school in Virginia Beach, and I didn't know anybody in my class.
No one.
I had 3 other kids that like our tables were set up so it was like 4 desks that kind of face each other. So like I knew the 3 kids who were at my table and that's it. And they usually just didn't respect me for the fact that I was still wearing Pokemon clothes past the point where I guess it was cool for a 3rd grader. I don't know.
Pokemon clothes on a 3rd grader?
Sure, yeah. It was you know, Pokemon craze was so last year. And that was basically my reputation at this school.
You could get away with wearing Pokemon merch like every year of the school year now. Like from kindergarten and preschool all the way.
It's just an accepted element of culture now. But then it was like a fad that had just ended in the eyes of, I guess, the 3rd graders I was surrounded with. But anyway, in this class, at some point, this one kid had taken he'd taken his own yearbook and like doodled all over it and told the teacher that I had done it. And basically like she took me out into the hallway and he's like going on and on about how I had like scribbled out his face and wrote and all this stuff and I did this other stuff to this other stuff, and I was just standing there like, you know, blankly like horrified at this accusation. But the thing that struck me the most is I didn't know who any of these fucking people were. I did not know who this kid was. I didn't know who any of the kids he was saying. I was like, why would I do this? Like, I don't even perceive you people at all. Why are you fucking with me like this? And like, I was just so blank in response. The teacher could obviously tell I hadn't done anything. It was just like, yeah, okay, I don't understand what this is, so we're just going back to class. And like, that was that.
That's a good teacher.
Well, I think probably they could have done something to reprimand that kid. Maybe he got a separate talking to at some point, because he never really fucked with me again like that. But that was the most, like, it didn't scar me in the sense of like, oh man, that was so horrifying what happened. It was just like, why was this guy so fucking obsessed with me? You know, like that he devised this epic way to try to fuck with me that seems so obsessive and like relentless.
Some people like to feel like a supervillain.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, so Anthy, you know, she gets dunked on in the middle of the room.
Her dress dissolves. Utena becomes aware of this, tosses off her dress. Yes. And at first I thought she was just going to be super fast and like put Anthy in it, but she's just out of her dress. We don't see what happens to it.
Fuck that dress. She destroys a table on her way down. She like jumps down, breaks the table in half. I love that. And
then she makes Anthy a new dress out of a tablecloth.
Yeah, she yanks a cloth off a table and wraps Anthy in it. And I gotta say, This moment was so fucking adorable. It brought tears to my eyes watching this, even though I was Theragunning Bird's back while we were watching it.
Felt very good, the Theragun.
This scene is so sweet because, yeah, like, I assume Utena immediately felt like, oh fuck, like I left my friend for 1 second and now she's like getting fucked with in some bizarre abstract way and she's just looks miserable. Anthony's like, you know, obviously deep in the throes of PTSD triggered at this point. And Utena, like, yeah, she rips off the dress and Toga's all pissed. He's like, Nanami, how could you fuck this up for me? Like, I was doing good. But yet...
But Nanami sucks.
Yeah, Utena throws on the dress, and of course, remember, everyone loves Utena. Like, unlike Anthe, who just gets treated, tell me they don't look at me like I'm the motherfucking witch, as Kanye West would say. Don't worry, that quote will be more relevant than you know. Utena is like, you know, just beloved. So everybody sees that she is like in her cool outfit again, and she's got. By the way, I'm pretty sure she's in transformation mode. Like normally, she only has all the extra shit when she's at the top of the staircase. So, yeah, she's like full on in magical prince mode, and has she has like this cute ass dance sequence with Anthe. It's just really nice. Anthe's like having the time of her life. Like, it's clear that all of that other shit has disappeared, and for her, it's just her and Utena. This kind of gets expanded on in the movie, because there's like a really extravagant dance scene between them at about the same beat in the story. But this is like probably the most romantic moment we'll get between them. Like, I don't know, maybe possibly... I was whatting Bird's back? Theragunning. There's a device called a Theragun that pounds on your back. Because of the fact that we both have like incredible fucking back strain. We finally got one after talking about it for years because they're kind of expensive, and I was afraid to buy it, but now I'm afraid to not have a working shoulder again. Bird also went to the bathroom, so that's why I'm kind of rambling right now. But yeah, I like this episode, even though it's kind of slow, and I could understand why for some people it's like just kind of traumatizing to be reminded of bullying in such a hardcore form, but that is intentional. The story will comment on it a lot further, and again, when we learn Anthe's backstory, I mean... It is essentially like this is a low level repetition of like much worse things that she's experienced. So like this is kind of an effective setup for Anthe's experiences, regardless of understanding like exactly what she's been through and all that. But it's good. Is she a car while they're dancing in the movie? No, not yet. Okay, I guess I'm gonna just take a little break here and drink some soda while I wait for Bird to come back from what is an unexpectedly long bathroom break. We talked about that episode for quite some time. I know it's mostly me. I'm kind of obsessed with Revolutionary Girl Utena and especially the relationship of these two characters, because the first time I watched the show, I didn't really register Anthe that much, just because everything about her characterization is so subtle that it went over my head. And it wasn't, like, I remember at the end of the show having felt like when they do finally expand on her character, like, oh, I didn't expect her to be like this important almost, even though she's in. It's like the marketing of the show would suggest that it's like Uta and Anthe are like the main important characters, and that is true. But I just, again, didn't understand her very well when I was younger. So as I go back through the show, I'm like, oh, it's so much richer than I first understood. How you doing, Burger?
I'm ripping and I'm roaring.
You're ripping and roaring? Are you a machine built for roar ripping? Do you feel like it?
Yes, and I'm also a roar ripper.
Yeah, you rip roar?
All over the place.
I've got the Utena ED stuck in my head right now, so I'm just... Kissing love into your heart. Okay.
The other day I played Frank Sinatra singing the Evangelion, A Cruel Angel's Thesis.
Yeah, like...
How did that make you feel?
It was, it was accurate. It sounded right. Alright. I have to go get my phone real quick so I can correct us about Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh.
You feel awake and alive?
I'm ripping and roaring.
What did you rip roar today?
I don't know what that...
Like 12, 13, maybe...
80 at least.
80. You rip roared 80.
Well, you know, like 2 eggs is 40 eggs, so I rip roared through 80 of those motherfuckers.
God damn. Alright, so... I got these messages from Nino. I'm not going to try to do his voice because that would be multiple types of racially insensitive. Instead, I'll just read the texts. Nino says, so one correction on your last JJK recap. Rika Amanai isn't Tengen yet. She's going to be, but once she does... She won't have her own identity and consciousness and will turn into a square-headed heavenly being with 4 eyes. So
that's a lot of eyes.
So now that I've seen episode 3, that's the girl who's getting like sacrificed that they're trying to protect, right? Okay. Because when this text first got to me, my first thought was, who the fuck is Rika Amanai and what the hell is a Tengen? I know I saw episode 2, but I definitely wasn't paying. Did you know all that? Did this text correct you?
No. I mean, I just talked about it dumb. I knew all of this.
The whole hidden inventory arc is about Gojo learning to be less of a dick and how sugary Geto became a dick. Also, Toji is Megumi's dad. I also don't remember who these characters are.
Megumi's the guy in the first season who can summon dogs and a frog.
Who's Toji? That's his dad. Which one's Toji?
The guy who stabs Gojo.
Okay, so the bad guy.
The man who walks on ramen.
So the bad guy is the main character's dad.
That is correct.
Okay.
I mean, he doesn't even know about his son most of the time.
I have to mention as well that guy, Toji, and Toga from Utena are both voiced by Dio.
Like a Rainbow in the Night. I can't believe they got him to record for this. I mean, he died in like 2016.
You thought it was 2 different guys, but it was me, Ronnie. No, yeah, they're all voiced by the same dude. He's done like the most. Takehito Koyasu has done the most voice roles of anybody in anime, and it's like the most easily recognizable voice also. So every show we watch, I'm just like, that's Dio. Hey, it's Dio. Hey, it's Dio. Anyway. I found it hilarious that he's such a deadbeat he forgot his son's name. Plus, the goofy awkwardness that you pointed out through the episode is literally just Gege being Gege, but Mappa adapting it in a very extra fashion.
Gege?
I assume that's the name of the manga author, just by the way that Nino uses it throughout this text. Your assessment of it being like JoJo is so fucking on point, except I'll say it runs it through the aesthetic preferences of someone who grew up reading Bleach. Definitely agree. It's my favorite Jump series since Kimetsu wrapped up, and the next arc makes more ballsy choices than I've seen any modern shonen make. Also, Gege really likes fleshing out villains who get one shot. That never stops. It's almost a hallmark of the series to not know how relevant any given villain will be. Except Toji. Toji is the opposite. He'll be one of your favorites by the end of this arc, or you'll absolutely hate him. I doubt there'll be a middle ground. Also, if you haven't, check out the JJK0 movie. Thank you, Nino, for your advice on this show. I feel like only after going back through this episode to collect screen caps that I go, oh, that's what they were doing.
What were they doing? I'm not clear on that.
She's going to be sacrificed to become a
No, not the maid.
god.
The maid's not going to be
No, the girl. The girl who's holding the cell phone with the picture of the maid on it in this shot. This episode opens with just like a trippy dream sequence of her with some fish. It looks like a scene from Children of the Sea. Yeah, it was. There's a lot of cool visuals in this episode that I was like, yeah, but like,
couldn't we have seen a fight scene right
or like, what does that fucking mean? Or like, what is it like? The implications of that fish scene were not entirely clear to me, other than anyway, the maid, I assume, was like her personal bodyguard, who she knows, who she trusts, who she likes. And she got kidnapped because the other two guys didn't try hard enough to stay together.
She told them to run away.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, she told them, get out of here, and they did. And then she got kidnapped. And this girl's like, look, you guys gotta fucking help her, or else I am not trusting your asses. Then this is where the episode gets really fucking confusing for the same reason that a lot of anime have been lately, that I've complained about many times. Skipping randomly through time for no fucking reason in a way that just makes things confusing. Because she's like, alright, let's go save the maid. And then it just cuts to, they're on the beach.
Saved.
And the maid is safe. And, what? Why are they just having fun on the beach now?
I don't know, but isn't Gojo Satoru hot?
Isn't he hot?
He
Isn't
looks like a
cute?
guy that nothing bad could happen to.
Yeah, well, it was just very awkward because it transitions from, maid is tied up and captured, we gotta go save her, to we're all on the beach, she's fine. Opening theme plays. Opening theme ends, we're still on the beach, we're having a good time. Then we cut back to, here's what happened, how we saved the maid. Which, it happens very quick. It's like 2 seconds, they kick the door down, she's like, oh, you're okay, they rescue her. So I get that they cut forward in time because this scene was kind of inconsequential. But the hard cut from, like, before to after was just so jarring. Why didn't they just do this real quickly and then cut to them on the beach or something? I don't know. There had to be a way to do this that didn't feel so weird and disconnected that left me like, wait, what? How did they? Oh, okay, this is how they. But then, and like, the long and short of it, the point of all this is that, like, it's Final Fantasy X. So in Final Fantasy X, Yuna, she's a sacrifice. You're trying to get her to a place. You just got to protect her until she can go die somewhere. That's exactly what they're trying to do.
Stabs her with his 17-foot sword.
Yes.
Wait, really? I was just guessing. No,
that's a different Final Fantasy game. This guy Gojo apparently plays a bunch of this game, Momotetsu. This is, I think, a real video game. It's like The Legend of Momotaro as a video game series. I don't know anything about how it plays. But the point of this scene is to remind us that they've been wearing Gojo down. Togo? That's his name, the bad guy? Toji? What did I say a minute ago when I was reading the texts? The bad guy, he is trying to wear Gojo down. He said so in many, many words in the last episode. And it's working. Even Geto is like, hey, you're probably not fine. And he's like, it's okay. I played a lot of Momotetsu. So there's just, like, whole sequence of them just kind of bonding and having a good time. It plays some, like, sweet music.
I'm sure nothing bad is going to happen to anyone.
Yeah, there's lots of pretty animation. I have to say, the reason that this episode... Like, the reason I had to go back through it to really understand what was happening is I get hung up on presentation a lot in anime and, like, what is it trying to get me to focus on? Like, I always am looking for
that
sort
red
of
jacket. They want you to think he's Vash the Stampede.
I'm always kind of focused on like what is the central theme or message that this is trying to get across, because everything else usually feeds into that to some extent, and like if you understand the main core thing, usually everything else kind of makes sense around that. And I feel like I don't totally get the main core thing of this arc through the presentation. I get it through like when I was, because the way I gather these screen caps is like I'm skipping through the episode, just kind of reading the text back to see what, like trying to find the moment that best encapsulates a whole scene. And so I'll usually be just sort of reading it at a quicker rate. And like Jujutsu Kaisen, I have to imagine as a manga, you're just reading it like bam, 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 bam. Like if there's a bunch of dialogue, it's not that distracting. In the anime, it's like they set the scene. There's like dramatic music. There's all these camera angles. There's crazy animation. There's all this stuff that makes it dramatic. And then sometimes the actual conversation happening is just so fucking dry. And like it creates this disconnect for me where I'm like, what are they talking about? Like this scene is like everybody, all the voice actors sound really like, full of emotion. But what they're saying is like describing the plot. And I get that the characters are emotional about the plot. That's fine. That makes sense. Like they're emotional about what's happening. It was just like a weird experience for me where I went from this opening scene where she's like screaming about how like we have to go save the maid because I really care about her, and then we're on the beach and everybody's happy. And then like we dive into this super sentimental stuff, and it's like, is this supposed to be funny? Is this supposed to be wacky? Is this supposed to be dramatic? Is this supposed to be heartfelt? Where are we
It's
at?
a lot of it. Why can't it be all of it, Beatrice?
And you've compared it to Chainsaw Man, and like particularly the fact that Mappa is making both shows, and like Chainsaw Man has a lot of this in it too. And that anime also kind of tried to accelerate it through all this extra tonal stuff. But I feel like Chainsaw Man was just enough weirder of a story to begin with. Maybe I'm not even accurate in saying that. Chainsaw Man's characters feel more fleshed out. So like when it does the emotional stuff, I just think it hits a little bit harder. With this show, like I don't really know much about these characters. They just seem like regular people. Other than that, they're badass demon hunters. Like, I don't know, this whole scene, they're just hanging out doing very normal stuff. Like, in Chainsaw Man, they might do something normal, but it's all through the lens of, like, Denji, who has not had a normal life, really appreciating and trying to work through the awkwardness of living normally. This is just like some people hanging out, and I don't know. I don't really care about any of them that much. They're cool, but
maybe we'll see them again.
The girl was introduced by a scene of them like flipping her around like a noodle in episode 2. You remember that, where they just kind of like grabbed her and stretched her out and rolled her around and kind of tossed her like a salad? It's a weird one. It's weird in a different way. It's weird in a way that Chainsaw Man's weirdness is specifically what makes it interesting to me, and this show's weirdness is specifically what makes it off-putting to me, and it's hard to explain why. But like the fact that the studio is taking such a similar approach to handling both stories just feels awkward to me. I wish Jujutsu Kaisen felt more different from Chainsaw Man, more like with its own aesthetic and its own kind of take on presentation, because I think it has a very different core message. It's not a sentimental story. It's an action. It's a battle shonen. It's about guys fighting and killing each other.
And speaking of that, I lied. Bad things can happen to Gojo Satoru. Yeah. He got stabbed through the heart, and he's to blame because he let his guard down.
Yep, all that wearing down was all for this. They thought they were safe because they were inside this barrier. He turned his head for one split fucking second, 1/2 of a split fucking second, and he got stabbed through the chest.
Also, apparently, he can't detect this guy's cursed energy.
Don't worry, it will stop feeling like Chainsaw Man and start feeling like Hunter x Hunter. That's good. I think this show would be better as a Hunter x Hunter than as a Chainsaw Man. And, Mappa's an offshoot of Madhouse who did Hunter x Hunter, although probably not the same people. Anyway, so, yeah, he gets stabbed, but luckily he's okay because he,
hardened his muscle. Oh.
On some kind of, molecular level, he did some shit. I remember there was a moment here where after he got stabbed, he explained how he survived in 3 sentences that I had to go back and I was like, what the fuck did he just say? And I read them again. I wish I had screen capped all 3 of the things he said, because it was just disconnected information that told me nothing. It did not in any way explain. He's just like, yeah, I directed my chi and yeah. I used this thing and therefore I'm
all good.
The phrasing he uses, it went through me like a pin through
a haystack.
No, a pin through like a sweater, like a knit sweater or something like that. Basically, the metaphor he used implied that it just went through an empty space he created within himself, as if he had redistributed all of the atoms inside of his body so that there was no longer... that's what I would assume based on a pin going through a sweater. But the other 2 statements he says are just magical shit. He's just I moved some fucking key or something, and it was like that. But there's a bunch of blood. So clearly something was struck. Something bled. It wasn't like a pin going through a sweater. If it was, the pin would have had to collect some of the fabrics. It was frustrating. I was like, no, you didn't do that. Or else either your metaphor sucks or the illustration is wrong. Anyways, they have a big crazy fight. There's a bunch of whooshy animation in this. I like the animation style. I like what they're doing, but it was a little weird because there's a lot of animated backgrounds mixed with full complete backgrounds in this scene where the animator drew parts of the floor or drew trees that are in the foreground, but they still have the super detailed trees in the background. It creates an awkwardness that is comparable to Speed Racer's animation.
Yeah.
Obviously not nearly as persistent, but it was weird. You seem to have even noticed it. How did you feel about the action scenes here?
I don't know. They all looked pretty cool this episode. I liked most of them. This guy is...
He zips around.
Sorry, I've just been picturing what happens to Gojo over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah?
It's not fun. I don't like it.
You don't like it? You don't like seeing Gojo get fucking railed through the neck and then cut open and then stabbed 6 times in the legs? That sequence was the best part of the episode.
Oh.
Yeah, basically, they have this big fight. I don't really remember why what their moves do or why or care, but he stabs him in the neck and that was sick. And then he cuts him wide open, and then he stabs him a whole bunch more times. He really just goes in on Gojo. He just ruins this man's life. Yeah. He thinks he's killed him. He's just like, yeah, I did it. I fucking murdered that guy.
I think he's killed him.
He might have. Maybe there's some kind of didn't the main character die in episode 4 of the original show? So that's definitely a thing that can happen. Amy said, I apparently described Gojo's power during the first season as vague enough so it can be whatever it needs to be. Yeah, that seems to be what's going on here. But meanwhile, cut to big underground place. This kind of is the Japanese version of the place that Fullmetal Alchemist ended, the original show.
Yeah.
Where there was the big underground Gothic architecture, but this one's Japanese. Anyway, it looks cooler than that one, maybe a little bit. And this is where she's gonna get sacrificed. But as they're getting ready, as Geto's all right, let's do it, let's get in there, she's like, you know what? I'm having a good time. Life, maybe it's pretty alright. Maybe we should fuck all this sacrifice shit. And Geto's like, that's all I needed to hear, bitch. Let's get the fuck out of here. I already did my part. Then she gets shot in the fucking head.
Which was pretty, I figured it was gonna happen.
She just gets shot with a gun.
Megumi's dad is pretty good at his job.
he shot her in the head. The other guy he did like a whole magic fight with. He just shot her. So then
I think he had a grudge against Gojo because like they're from the same family.
I see. So yeah, basically the bad guy shows up, shoots her in the head, and tells Geto, "I just murdered Gojo also. So fuck you, my job is done." And Geto's like, "I'm upset," and he summons all his dudes, and that's where the episode ends. This episode was more effective for me when I went back through it to collect clips and understood what was happening better, because again, like, just experiencing the episode, the tone shifts are so weird. The music, just the whole thing feels disconnected to me from the plot, because the plot is like this brisk battle shonen, like, you know, the characters, there's a lot of random details that are just kind of there because it's cool powers, like explaining how they got like how they kept security while they were on a plane. And it's like, Gojo's got good eyes, so he inspected everybody on the plane, and I had my creatures flying next to it so that we knew it was more secure than ground travel. And it's like, I kind of fucking don't care, but at the same time, like, I get it. Like, yeah, fun, shonen powers. They're using their powers for everything. That's, yep, very shonen. It's fine. It's okay. It's cool that she got shot in the head.
I don't like what they did to Gojo.
It's cool that he got stabbed so many times. I really like the blood effects on that scene when there's just a shot of him like dead. It was very Bruno Bucciarati. You know, I have kind of a thing for corpse shots in anime. I first realized this because of JoJo Part 5, when that one scene on the train where Bruno just gets like chopped to pieces, or chops himself to pieces, I guess it's easier to say. And then like a couple episodes later, there's a shot where Giorno's just like dead on the ground. And both of them strangely erotic. And then there was Rebecca in Cyberpunk Edge Runners, which you can learn about in our bonus episode. Oh my god, we totally forgot to do the whole Patreon shout out thing at the start of the episode.
Ooh,
we're gonna have to do that right now that we're done talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. Shout out to all of our $10 plus patrons.
True Fox 1 over on
True Fox 1 on back.buy, where they don't take as much of our money. And we've got 2 brand new ones at the start that we should have talked about at the start of this episode. Abby K.
Ooh, thank you, Abby K.
And Ice Bear. Great name.
Thank you, Ice Bear.
We've also got Dylan, Devin Hall, Last Esses, M2, Hidden Music Island, Anatheme Badesu, Susu2, and Zero Tune Game. Thank you all for continuing to give us $10 a month. Hopefully, when we institute our $15 a month tier, if any of you want to raise your pledge, I don't think Patreon will charge you extra. I hope they just charge the difference. I don't really know how it works.
I think if you want to support us, you should do it on back.buy, because I like less of our money being taken.
That's true. Alright.
But do whatever you want. Give us money however you're comfortable.
That was Jujutsu
Kaisen.
Now it's time for Speed Racer.
This episode, we meet Racer X. He's pretty cool.
This is an important one. But it starts off with Speed and Trixie just on a joyride, just having a time.
Because they're cool kids.
A dog runs out in the road. He uses the jump jack to go over it. And they're just like happy about the fact that they didn't kill that dog.
I would be. You know, there's a lot of deer where we're staying lately. I wish my car had jump jacks.
Yeah, this is cute. They're just hanging out. This show has a lot of just driving sequences.
It's a show about racing.
And I was really thinking about it. Like, I kind of take it for granted now. Like, there's not a ton of racing anime. Like, there's Initial D, by far the most popular. It had a bunch of seasons, but like, it's kind of been done for a while, and there hasn't been like replacements, and I'm sure part of that is just that it's really hard to draw cars, especially realistic cars, and lots of environments, and we'll see some of the reasons that's hard in Speed Racer, but like also video games have just mastered it. Like if you just wanted to see driving, you can like control it in a video game. But
you can be Speed Racer.
This is the 1960s, and there wasn't a bunch of there wasn't Top Gun, there wasn't Need for Speed, there wasn't even fucking Pole Position, there was no racing video games, there was no racing, no racing cartoons. This is it. This is the show. If you wanted to look at cars, go on, whatever kind of terrain. So there's just lots and lots and lots of shots of Speed's car going. And it's interesting because the approach they take is almost always different. Whereas anime now, like Jujutsu Kaisen was a good example of a show that is kind of experimental, where like certain scenes will really have their own animation style. Again, that one fight was like very like Imaishi style, limited animation, whooshing around, whereas a lot of the show's not like that. But Speed Racer, it's like cut for cut every single time. It's a different animation style. It's a different approach. Sometimes you aren't really even sure that you're still in the same scene because of how different it feels. It's an interesting experience. It definitely keeps my attention when I'm just blown away by how many times it looks different. But anyway, yeah, this episode introduces Racer X. He's a cool dude in a helmet.
Well, and every time he's in a race, someone dies or gets injured.
Oh shit, that's pretty fucked up. He also has never lost a race that he's been in, I think. Speed and Trixie just kind of see him getting his car loaded off the boat, getting swamped with, people trying to interview him. He just is quiet. He doesn't answer any questions. Fucking Speed's terrified of him because he's like, that guy is really good. Meanwhile, back at home, these business people are trying to buy the designs off of Speed's dad, and he will not sell it no matter how many millions they offer. They keep stacking up money. He's just like, nah.
Not enough.
Nah. Here's a scene where he's just shouting at Speed's ass. It's like pretty several nice shots where it's hard to see anything other than him shouting directly at Speed Racer's ass.
What's he shouting at the ass about?
So they were watching TV and the announcements came out about who's going to be in the next big race. Racer X is in this big race. And Speed Racer is also in this big race. And his dad is fucking pissed.
Who said he could race again?
Not only who said you could race again, but you should not be racing against mysterious Racer X, who someone dies in every race that he's in. Kind of seems like a real gamble with your life. And
but, he has the Mach 5. He's not going to die to some loser.
This is when we learn the story of Speed Racer's older brother. Did Speed Racer know he has
Rex Racer
an older brother? Does he remember his older brother?
Yes, I believe so.
So, did he know this story? Is his dad just telling him this again? Is he just?
I'm not sure.
Is this something that gets brought up all the time?
Maybe he just didn't tell him the specifics.
I feel the need to mention.
No.
It is incredibly obvious because of the way the information is juxtaposed in this episode.
Whoa, be careful.
That there might be some relationship between this mysterious Racer X character and Rex Racer, who was apparently the greatest racer in of all time until this particular race.
I don't want to spoil anything, so all I'm gonna say is Racer X, Rex Racer?
Rex Racer.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little mysterious, Racer X.
I wonder who he is.
Maybe we won't ever know. We don't know. We haven't spoiled ourselves for Speed Racer. Anyway, this is one of the most known, obvious things ever. But I also think it was probably hugely influential because as I was watching this episode, first of all, Racer X in the helmet, I kept seeing this rival. Like, he's supposed to be the greatest. He's older. He's bigger. He might have some kind of secret direct relationship to the protagonist. And he wears a helmet all the time. Who does this remind me of? Char from Gundam, maybe? Which came out, like, 10 years later. So, obviously, plenty of time to be influenced by Speed Racer. Not to mention, he's got a relationship where he's, like, secretly the brother of one of the main characters. They just kind of, it would be a little too obvious if it was Amuro's brother. So they gave him as, like, a sister character. But, yeah, I definitely think Char pulled some big influence from this. And you know what else I think did? Is Mega Man. And I don't know how much, like, plot is really given to Proto Man in the actual games. I mostly know him from the Proto Man albums where they really tried to flesh out the story. At the very least, Proto Man's presentation is definitely influenced by Speed Racer, because the idea is that Dr. Light built Proto Man to defeat Dr. Wily's armies, but then Proto Man got defeated, and he's like, oh, I'm going to build myself another son, but this one I'm not going to send out to fight. But then when Mega Man learns the story of Proto Man, he cannot help himself but to go out and do the same exact thing, but ends up fighting Proto Man, who is secretly converted to an enemy.
This city, she's been dead for years now.
All right, yeah, that's pretty much the same plot as Racer X, and also, we all know the spoilers because we've seen the movie.
What spoilers?
They did the same thing in the movie.
I didn't say anything about spoilers.
This is the most perfect representation of living in your head rent-free that I have ever seen in my life. We need to make this a Twitter meme, right? Like, this...
That'd be a good one.
Just, you could put anything in that thought bubble. Lying awake at night, just seeing that evil grin in his mind's eye. It's a beautiful moment. Mysterious Racer X. That's gotta be Char. That's gotta be Proto Man. I'm just saying. They both came later.
Oh,
this
right.
is Primordial Ooze anime.
So now they're in the race.
No, they're not even in the race. I think what's happening here, because I was a little confused about this as well, because we started to pass out during this scene, and then we had to continue it the next day. I'm pretty sure Speed just, like, takes the car out to go drive, and then it starts raining, and then Mysterious Racer X, like, just kind of starts following him. And so it's just the two of them, like, having an impromptu race out in the city streets in the rain. So there's nobody else on the road, but, like, this is another place where I say, like, there is just tons of shots of them driving in the rain. And it's pretty impressive because a lot of the shots are kind of experimental or interesting. Like, they're trying to do different types of splash effects on the windshields. They're trying to do, like, rain going in different directions. You got this shot where the water's, like, spilling up over the levees and, like, flooding the roads and shit. It's incredibly dangerous. Speed, like, listens to the radio, and the radio's like, you should not be driving right now. It's bad. And then there's a few shots here. Again, like, this is the rest of the episode. It's just, like, them racing down these roads. But stuff just starts, like... There's
rocks.
Rocks! Yeah, there's a sign for rocks. But do you remember the shot where... they're just going and going, and then all of a sudden, there's no setup for this. Speed is just going through, like, a bunch of barrels.
Oh, yeah, that was funny. I liked that.
It's just, like, 2 rows of steel barrels, like, 20 total steel barrels that Speed just is suddenly going through in one shot. You're like, what the fuck? Where'd the steel barrels come from? He goes through barrels
for, like, a solid 4 seconds.
Yeah, it's a lot of barrels. And then this shot...
oh, yeah, there's a boat.
It just suddenly cuts to, like, a military boat that's being, like, shook about in the sea. And it's not even clear for a second if this is part of the same scene that we were just watching until the boat comes crashing into the road right as Speed is going over that road, like, just destroying the road. I thought this was pretty fucking funny. Again, there's a lot of like stuff I would consider impressive in this sequence, like just they're inventing animation techniques on the fly, pretty much. Just like, hey, they're gonna be driving.
The water was really cool. All of the ocean animation.
For sure, this shot, this whole sequence of the boat getting tossed around looks really impressive. It's just that it's also abrupt and out of nowhere and lacks cohesion. And, like, you can just feel how visual language has come a long way in animation where, like, I know there had to be a framing of this that would have more so implied that that ship had something to do with the scene at hand. But, like, they're probably just taking manga panels and, like, reinterpreting them as animation. Maybe this made more sense in comic form, or maybe it made just as little sense.
I hope it made just as little sense, to be honest with you.
So anyway, yeah, this I think that's the end of the episode. It was solid, you know.
There is one point in this episode where it's just like the same repeated animation for about 6 to 8 seconds. And, you know, whatever. It's just weird. It was a little off-putting. But, you know, Speed Racer's fun. I'm excited to see what happens next episode, see if Speed can survive.
Oh, he'll survive. For as long as he knows how to love.
You know who else gonna survive? Amuro.
Amuro, don't turn around now. That shining star is at the end of the universe. So, this is the third episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, and a very tactical, action-centric episode that sort of, I think, ends this first little mini arc of battle of basically Char trying to invade Side 7. In the first episode, all of the events were based around him just kind of happening to notice that there is something going on this faraway colony that he's just stumbling upon because he's on the way back from a major battle somewhere else in space in this big war. And as they come upon White Base, they launch an attack. They end up killing off most of the senior officers. All that's really there is these young kids who are capable of piloting the new weapons that they have, but these new weapons are fucking badass. And in the previous episode, Char, you know, he kind of got beat back. He retreated to his ship. He's like, we need more supplies. It's really hard to deal with this Gundam. But he's still kind of hoping that he can take them out while they're here. Mm-hmm. But the fight has, he's been following them, I guess, to this comet that, meteor. Those are the ones that whatever. There's a big rock in space that's floating close to the sun.
The moon.
Oh, floating close to the moon, but also the sun is very visible from this thing. Anyway, they're like going to this comet because it's got a base on it, and they're hoping to touch in there. But in order to get to it, they have to be careful because the Zeon ship is like waiting for them. So this is the obstacle. How do we get to the fucking comet? And the commander of White Base, he's been incapacitated. He's just kind of dying. He's kind of left things to Bright Noah. And there's this scene where Bright Noah gets his orders from the commander of, like, we got to figure out how we're going to get to that asteroid. And he gets in the elevator with Sayla Mass, and he's just kind of trying to small talk with her. He's like, hey, what planet are you from? And she's like, do I have to answer that? And he's like,
just being pretty rude
no.
For no reason.
What she says to him, he asks her if, like, this is her first time in space, and I think she says that she's, like, spent some time, like, she's from Earth, but she's, like, hasn't lived there forever, and this is Bright's first time leaving Earth, and she describes him as an elite, or something like that, and that's why he says, are you being sarcastic? So it seems like the reason that she looks down on him, my sort of read on this relationship, what they're trying to suggest is that he is probably from like a fairly upstanding family, somebody who wanted to be a soldier, wanted to be in the military, and really takes it all very seriously. She is not like that. She clearly does not really respect this whole upstanding military gentleman thing that he's got going on. And after he gets offended, she literally says to him, like, you need to learn how to take a joke. Like, you need to learn to take yourself less seriously. So she is trying to poke him. She's trying to prod at him. She's trying to keep him on his toes. I think for the same reason that he's doing that to Amuro. Like, the same way that he kind of won't ever just give Amuro a compliment. She's trying to be that to him because, hey, this guy is supposed to be the new commander of the ship. And she's used to a commander being someone with, a certain amount of experience
and a silly mask over their eyes.
Well, I don't think she's ever worked under Char, but... where are you going?
Nowhere.
Bird disappeared to get a taco. Anyway, this whole scene is really fun because we're on the bridge. I think it's interesting that Mirai is sort of like the most tactically minded person, it seems, on the bridge, or the one who has like the most forethought into what they should do, most opinion of what they should do. Because Bright is kind of being indecisive about, like, how do we approach getting to this asteroid. And she says, like, look, they're definitely going to resupply and attack us. If they get their supplies, we're fucked. What if we attack them first while they're getting supplies? Maybe we can fuck them up. And Bright's like, I don't know. Maybe. And there's a nice moment where Sayla says to him something like, oh, maybe you should go ask the captain. And he's like, I don't like your tone. Shut up. So yeah, that's again, I really think she's just trying to put him in a position of like making decisions quicker and, getting to the point. But he decides that they're going to hold it to a vote on whether or not they attack. Meanwhile, on Char's side, he is expecting supplies. In the previous episode, he said, please send me 3 more Zaku. And they were like, we can spare you 1. I
think he gets 2.
The supply ship shows up, and it's like this old-ass ship. He's like, there's no way that has all the shit we need. Like, what are you doing? And they're just like, look, man, we don't really have the resources to, like, send you a bunch of crap out there into deep space. Like, this guy was nearby. This is what you got. So Char's like, fucking A, man. This is all I have to work with. Whatever. It's not going to matter because the difference in skill is what's going to matter. We're better than them. Their fighters suck. We can do this. Meanwhile, Amuro is fixing up the Gundam. He's just, like, in the seat. That's where Frau finds him. She's trying to feed him. He's like, I don't want to eat. I just want to work. I'm doing this because I don't want to die.
I just want to eat.
This is, we kind of talked about this in the last episode, but this is the important difference between Amuro and Shinji Ikari is...
he wants to be in the robot.
He wants to be in the robot because he wants to live. And it's not for really any other reason. Now, Frau thinks that he's pushing himself because of Bright Noah. That, like, he is immediately trying to get Bright's sort of affirmation. And that is kind of true. We'll see it more throughout this episode and throughout the show. But, like, again, in the same way that, like, Shinji was trying to do it for his dad's affirmation, in that case, that was all Shinji was fighting for. Literally, he just wanted his dad to praise him, and in the absence of him being able to get that praise, doesn't care if he lives or dies, or if anybody else lives or dies. Amuro, yeah, he wants Bright to praise him, but he wants him to praise him because of the fact that he is willing to fight to protect everyone, which obviously every single person who signs up for military duty already feels that way. So that's what he's kind of trying to instill into him, is like, hey, look, man, I know you're doing your best, but your best probably is still going to get us all killed. So yeah, here's her deciding, like, before they get the weapons and get to supplies to Char, we should fucking attack them. I guess I had screen caps for all this. Maybe I thought that this scene happened a little earlier than it does. In any case, yeah, he's like, we're going to do a majority vote. Who votes? There's a 50-50 shot we can just make it if we just gun it straight to that asteroid. Who thinks we should do that? Show of hands. Not a lot of hands. 50-50 shot, maybe if we attack them we win. Who thinks so? Way more hands go up. Everybody's like, yeah, we should fight. And ultimately, the only hand who doesn't go up either time is Amuro.
Indecisive bitch.
And initially, Bright Noah also doesn't raise his hand for either. But after everybody else in the room does, Bright raises his hand, just sort of looks at Amuro like, well, like, you're going to have, like, everybody's kind of voted for it. So Amuro eventually puts his hand up with this kind of look on his face like, yeah, all right, I guess we're doing this, But I liked the staging of this, that he's sort of peer pressured into it, but it's also like, he accepts the circumstance. He accepts that this is what everyone thinks is a good idea, and he's going to do it even if he didn't really want to at all.
He's going to do it because it's the way to not die.
Yep. At least by consensus of this group. And I think probably because Bright raised his hand is ultimately, if Bright hadn't done it first, Amuro might not have. Because I do think he did that very specifically to be like, hey man, I want you in, like, I want you to promise you're part of this. So they start the operation, and there's a nice moment where the more experienced pilot that is, I think, in the core fighter and following Amuro into battle is like, why don't we go around the side of the meteor? And he's like, are you fucking idiot? The sun will be directly in our eyes if we go that way. So that's kind of where Char's positioned himself, is in a way where, like, the sun would block out view of their ship. But they luckily figured this out, and the guy's like, oh, that Amuro's a pretty smart kid. I think this is the first sort of sign of Amuro's new type capabilities, because the idea with new types is that basically they just understand spatially where they are in space more than most people do. That's sort of what makes them the next evolution of people evolved to live in space. So I think this is meant to be hinting at that. Also, this is I think the first mention of Minovsky particles, which I don't remember what those are or what they mean. I'm sure it'll be explained at some point. But Char is told that the Minovsky particle density seems too high for them to have like I think for them to have a proper fight out here. I don't remember exactly what he wants to do, that they're struggling with this Minovsky particle.
I think the Minovsky particle was discovered by Parodies.
Parodies?
Parodies nuts.
You got me. So basically, the main point of this whole battle that takes up like the whole second half of this episode is to just really, really, really emphasize how much the Earth Federation would not be able to win if not for the fact that the Gundam is just so fucking good.
Char cannot destroy the Gundam, and he really tries.
Yes, Char is the better pilot. He has supplies coming in. He's got the team. There's no reason he should not be able to kill the Gundam, except that they can't use their mega particle cannons during their resupply process, which means that if they can't use heavy artillery that would definitely kill the Gundam, none of their other shit should be able to kill our Gundam. Fuck them. And Char's like, there's no way that's true. He's just gonna learn how wrong he is for the rest of the episode. And like, there's lots and lots of fighting here, but a lot of it is tactical decisions being made on the fly between the smart characters, and then dumb decisions and random mistakes being made by other characters to emphasize, like, yeah, again, they would not win if they had the same technology, because they don't know what they're doing. Amuro is okay at fighting, but he keeps falling for getting like shoulder bumped and literally fucking kicked by other mecha, because that's why they have arms and legs, is some people can fight fucking kung fu in their mechs if they want to. This is something Ghost Lightning always made fun of, is like the kicking mechs.
Nothing wrong with kicking as a mech.
The Zaku clearly have those spiky shoulder pads for the sake of ramming them into each other. But yeah, so Amuro can't really pilot. Some of the other guys who are in like the gun tanks and gun cannons, which I got corrected in a comment. Those apparently are not old shitty technology. They are like some kind of runoff of the Gundam. So they're not shit. They're just shit compared to the Gundam because, you know, the Gundam's the one that is the flagship of the show. It is the Gundam. But yeah, so just everyone on the good guy team is incompetent. The bad guy team, well, I shouldn't even say good or bad guys. It's war. They're just the teams, you know. This dude who's in this old school Zaku, like literally not even the modern incarnation of the Zaku.
It's the captain of the supply ship, I think.
Yes, he basically is determined, like, there's no way that I'm gonna lose because I've had this Zaku for countless battles. I'm like super experienced, even more than Char. Like, no way I'm gonna lose to that Gundam. And Char's like, you can't beat that thing in that old ass fucking Zaku. You're an idiot. And he's right. He gets cut right through, and Char's just like, again, blown away by the Gundam and what it can do. He's like, I really thought that experience would make the difference, but I fucking beat that thing up all day and I haven't done shit. So maybe I need to rethink everything about military strategy. And I think that's gonna be. I think Char is kind of going to be in the background for a little while after this, like trying to figure out what the fuck he's going to do about this whole Gundam problem.
All right.
But yeah,
I'm starting to enjoy Gundam more.
I really liked this episode. It was a lot of fun.
Oh my god, more Gundam.
It's just good old fashioned Gundam. Whereas this episode, actually, I did not enjoy as much as the first one.
No.
This the Gundam the Witch from Mercury, compared to, well, like. It's funny because Mobile Suit Gundam, I especially when I was younger would have thought of as a very dry show. It's a lot of like tactics and talk and that kind of stuff. But like it's also very emotional. It's very in your face and aggressive, and the characters like bicker and have problems with each other, and like, you know, they can be kind of loud and opinionated. And I can say a lot of that stuff about this show too, but this show has some moments that are just bone dry that I really didn't care about, and even going back through them, I didn't understand how the scenes were as long as they were. Like, scenes that like, it's not that they didn't communicate anything, but there's no reason it should have taken 5 minutes. It feels like a lot of stuff is just kind of being reiterated. A lot of the same problems I had with Utena episode 2, to be fair, of like, okay, I feel like we already got a lot of these points. But it also is a lot less directly like Utena than the last one. So basically the main thrust point of this whole episode is, hey, that thing,
a Gundam?
That thing might be a Gundam.
We don't like Gundams here.
Yeah, no, Gundams are not positively thought of.
They're illegal, actually.
Super illegal, super not supposed to be a thing. So they're like, what do we do about this this mech? We can't just leave it alone. We got to do something. So they immediately arrest them, and they're like, we're taking her into custody. We're taking the Gundam into custody. And white hair girl's like, my dad's the president, and, you know, therefore I tell you all this is not something you should do. And they're like, sorry, we listened to your dad. Like, you kind of don't matter. And she's like, fuck. So, yeah, the Suleta gets taken. Her and her mech get taken into custody, interrogated. She's just kind of nervously like, look, it's not a Gundam. It's, I don't remember what she keeps calling it. She insists it's like
it's just a mobile suit.
No, it has a name. It's like an aviator, like
Aerial. Aerial,
yes. She's like, no, this is an aerial. It's not a Gundam. And they're like, we're pretty sure it's a Gundam. And, so this is the first scene that I'm talking about just being like, stream dead. Are we dead? Are we off? Oh no, what's happening? No. Oh no, she said never mind. Maybe we're still good. Maybe we're still in. It's buffering a bit, but it's still active. It says on our end, error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewing experience will be... It cuts itself off. It doesn't actually continue saying anything after that. Well, we'll just power through it and hope that it's watchable. So, this is the first scene that I was saying is incredibly fucking dry because you cut to just like a council of old stuffy dudes, and immediately I'm like, well, how many of these are real characters? How many of these am I supposed to care about? Is this just like a council of nobodies, like, just to show me that there's like a board of directors or whatever? Like, this is the kind of scene that typically when I'm watching a show for the first time, my brain will just totally shut off because I'm like, anything that they're going to talk about in this scene, I'm going to get explained to me again later in a more exciting way. And, I probably won't have context into who any of these people are until some other point, so I just don't care. Going back through this episode to get my screen caps, it became apparent there's like one important like older dude with like a tube in his nose, and then there's the sort of bad guy of this episode, I guess we'll say, the guy who's just like Sayonji from Utena for real. Mm-hmm. His dad is on this council, and the dad is the one who's like really trying to downplay the importance of this Gundam thing and get back to normalcy where his son is somebody cool and didn't just get his ass whooped by this girl. Everyone else is just kind of like, yeah, we don't really know what's going on, but we're all arguing about it. So, yeah, people have opinions about the Gundam. This kid, I really hate the way they introduced this. This is such a throwaway scene where, like, there's a couple of characters. There's, like, a cool long-haired dude we've cut to a few times. We don't know anything the fuck about them. They've just been commenting on the situation at hand. And then, like, those characters who we already don't know are talking to this kid who we don't know because he's interested in Suletta.
They're on the student council. It's just like Utena.
Are they all on... is this kid on the student council?
I think they all are, yeah.
So he's interested in Suletta, and they're like, oh, you must be in love with her. And he's like, falling in love is something I'll never do. This is not a good way to endear me to a character, right? Right as an introduction, I was just kind of like, I don't care, emo, whatever. Yeah, this guy just annoyed me throughout this episode with all his scenes, and he's not endeared to me. Meanwhile, Silverhair, who had been getting bullied before, she's very different from Anthe from Utena, who, just succumbs to all the bullying. She's pretty much over it. She's like, fuck you guys, if you touch my tomatoes, I'll kill you. I'm leaving this fucking place. I'm going to Earth. Which is also what she told Suletta. Like, hey, look. Like, I'm supposed to marry you now, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to Earth. Fuck all this nonsense. So, yeah, she's truly the anti-Anthe in that regard. But, there's people... Her dad's people are, like, constantly telling her, like, you should stay here. You should not go out to Earth. There's also just, like, a throwaway line about some kind of infectious spread of SV-29 confirmed in Front Autonomous Sector 33. Don't know what that means. It's just overheard on, like, a loudspeaker somewhere.
I don't want to get infected with SV-29.
Me neither. So here's the asshole dad yelling at his son, like, you're going to fuck up our company's reputation. I'm going to have this loss stricken for now, but, if you can't win these duels, you suck.
Which he does.
Just being a mean cunt. This scene kind of pissed me off because, the guy who's totally not in love with Suletta shows up to give her lunch. She's been in prison, she's been getting interrogated. He gives her this food, and as soon as I saw her pick up the piece of bread, I went, she's going to cry. And then she eats the bread, and she cries. And I was like, I fucking knew it. I don't know how much I've talked about this before, but it is such a common trope in anime for a character to eat, especially bread, more than anything, to eat a bread. And I always bring up the Spirited Away as the most famous example, because Haku gives her the bread and she just starts crying big-ass Ghibli tears while she eats it. But yeah, I don't know why it keeps happening. Have you ever eaten bread and then started crying? Like, all your bottled up emotions just came out because you ate bread? I love bread, and I don't think this has happened to me. But anyway, he's like, I'm interested in you. which I think is a way of saying he's DTF, but I don't know. It's Char. There's a person with a helmet covering half their face. This is Char.
Char, yeah. This woman represents the company that is claiming to have created the Gundam that Suletta is piloting.
And she just kind of shows up to resolve this whole everybody's upset about the Gundam situation. She's saying that it's a product of their new drone technology that they were developing. Which makes some kind of sense if the bits being like the most important thing about this Gundam, I guess. But yeah, we've got some maybe hints into who this could be.
Well, yeah, 'cause she's got the same missing arm as Suletta's mom.
This could be a misdirect, I guess, because they claimed that her mom is working for like some other division. Like, her mom is supposed to be accounted for by the story, but we haven't seen her since the prologue, and all we really learned about her in the prologue is that she had a fake arm, and she says in this scene that both the arm and whatever made her helmet the way it is were claimed by Mercury's magnetic field.
Because Mercury is a mining planet.
It's very easy to imagine that she's lying and that the other information about Soletta's mom was misinformation. Because, again, we have never seen her. We have no confirmation of where she is in the story. And then here comes a woman related to the Gundam with one arm. I'm just saying. It's probably her mom. Also, it's Char. In the chat, Amy Worrell says, Char, but would. I think I would most versions of Char. I mean, Char is a very handsome man. Unfortunately, he's a pedophile. But we'll get to that later.
Not a fan of that.
Anyways, this Char, who hopefully is not a pedophile, says, I believe the school duels will be an effective test of the Ariel's abilities. So basically, she sells them on, hey, they're at some point somebody finally mentions, like, you know, what they all really care about is, like, hey, if this is a Gundam and we can study it and we can make money off of it, we can make a lot of money off of it, hey, let's make a lot of money, because everything's corporate in this school world. And she's like, hey, let's study its abilities by having it fight. Meanwhile, the president's daughter, she tried to make an escape. They caught her again, and she's just like, basically her dad is trying to force her into marriage. He's like, I'm just going to pick a fucking husband for you, fuck you. And she's like, all right, look, if you're going to force me to get married, I at least want it to be Suletta. So I challenge you to a duel, and if I win, I get to marry her. And basically, she signs Suletta up for a duel in her name. And it's like, if you lose, your mech's getting scrapped, so you better fucking do it. That's the end of the episode. It wasn't terrible, but it was just, again, very dry. Like, the emotions of these two characters are big throughout the episode, but circumstantially, I didn't really know. I didn't have a strong sense of, like, are they in danger, or, like, what are they, I mean, it's very clear she's just trying to get to Earth. It was obviously not going to work what she was trying to do, because she already tried in the first episode and failed. And Soletta's just kind of like, I don't know what's going on. So, yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel like there was a lot of forward momentum, just a lot of very repetitive world building. But at least there's Char.
That is a good thing to have. Char is interesting, ?
Alright. Next up, it's time for Pokemon.
Pokemon.
It's a very cute episode of Pokemon.
That is good.
So, at the end of the last episode, the ship that the Flying Volteckers use was surrounded by magnetons.
Rare coil.
Rare coil, as they're known in Japan. And they don't know this yet, but it's jamming all their shit. And so this is Dot. She's, like, freaking out, trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with the ship. They're, like, telling her, chill out. Don't worry about it. You know, the mechanic will be back soon. We'll figure this out. Don't even trip. Meanwhile, most of this episode is about Roy trying to catch this fucking bird. I can't remember what it's called, but it'll be in a screen cap. Wattrel? Wattrel. Is that the English or the Japanese name?
English.
So, Wattrel, the one that Roy met in the previous episode, is not hanging out with the other birds. What's wrong? Why is he all alone? What wrong with that boy? So there's this scene where, as Roy is spying on him, he gets chased by a Vespiquen off of a cliffside.
That was funny. I liked that.
And the bird sees this happen and, like, thinks about jumping down to help, but kind of hesitates. And he notices this happening, and he's like, what's going on with that? And he's like, you seem to be scared of cliffs. So then he jumps off the cliff and kind of is like, jump down, hang out with me. But the bird looks down, and you have this moment of seeing the cliff, like, elongate, and the stuff goes trippy, and it's like, okay, he's afraid of heights. The Kaiden is the Japanese name, by the way. Kaiden will not fly because he's afraid of falling. But Roy is very determined to help him get over this fear. So he builds like a little pad that he can just keep jumping off of this little cliff onto this pad to teach Kaiden that it's okay to fall. It's really cute. This is definitely like very Ash Ketchum-esque behavior. Like, Ash was always trying to find some inventive way to connect with his Pokemon to progress, but I feel like Roy just has more sincerity and more like Ash was always like a lazy asshole until he found out that there was something he could do. Roy is just like constantly trying to figure out.
He's forming real relationships with his Pokemon as opposed to just like, oh shit, look, a Charizard. Yeah,
exactly. So he's trying to get this bird to drop, and eventually he does. The bird does a little bit of flight. He's like surprised himself. Look at all the Pokemon having a good time. Look at Rockruff and Sprigatito and I don't remember what the fuck is the other guy's name. What's this guy? Fuecoco. Yeah, it's a really cute episode. He builds a. So, at first I thought this was like some kind of strange lure, but actually this is just he built the little cardboard version of the bird just for the sake of testing that this was going to work. But this is his harness that he has built so that he can hold the bird out over the cliffside. And ultimately what happens is it breaks free of the harness using like the electricity that
it generates.
Yeah, it generates in its arms, or wings rather, and flies up to this tower, which you mentioned that the towers are like present in the video game as well.
It's where you find the Gimme Ghouls.
Oh, so like they're hanging out on a Gimme Ghoul tower. And he manages to do it, man. He flies up there, and everybody's fucking happy for him. All the other birds are celebrating and having a good time.
Good bird, good bird, good bird. I'm very happy for this bird. This was a great episode of Pokemon for me.
Also, Denpa Apple with €5 said, finally caught one of these live to tell you to look up the Pokemon Horizons Twitter. Dai Sato. It's Dai Sato. Dai Sato is the guy who wrote Eureka 7. And he also, I don't know if he's writing on Pokemon Horizons. Maybe he's like supervising it or something. I don't know why. Otherwise, he would have the Pokemon Horizons Twitter. But that sounds like fun. I'll look into it before the next show. Anyway, this is a really cute shot. Like, Roy is just kind of like running over. So okay, yeah. The bird gets up there. He's all happy, and then Roy is like walking away. He's like, hey, that was fun, goodbye. And the bird's like, nah, I'm gonna fly after him. So it jumps down, and he notices it's flying, and the one dude's like, hey, take this Pokeball, it wants to be your friend, you should go catch it. So he starts running towards where the bird is, and Fuecoco just kind of jumps, and the background turns into a bunch of oranges and apples for a second. It's just a neat little splash image. It's very cute. Don't know why it was in there. But long story short, he catches the bird. Because the bird, as it's flying down, like a big gust of wind comes, so he has to throw the Pokeball to save the bird, which I thought was pretty clever. It's like he wasn't just trying to catch it. He was also in that moment like needing to catch it in order to protect it from, the gust of wind. So yeah, very cute, very wholesome. Also, in the middle of all that, there's like a battle where the one dude who leads the Rising Volteckers has to fight like the dude with the Umbreon who's using.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that Pokemon called?
I don't know, but it's like a brown guy. He's like an alien.
Yeah, like a psychic alien thing.
Yeah, he's cool. I like him.
And then I have to say, Pokemon for its whole existence has just run marathons for people who are into like mind control and hypnosis, because they have that Pokemon just straight up put her under like this spell with this trippy eye effect that makes her not pay attention just long enough for the pendant to get stolen. Whoops, you fucked up. But yeah, I don't know. This is I'm not gonna call it fetishistic, but I know that there are some people who are gonna draw a bunch of art based on this moment.
I can't believe you.
Well, anyway, you know what else is sick? It's monster time.
Tenma's doing good again.
he actually will be doing all right this episode, but nothing else is all right. This to me is where Monster started actually getting interesting, kind of. Like, not to say that it wasn't interesting at all before, but this is where, like, I guess it gets complicated enough, because the first two episodes, they did kind of feel like they were beating you over the head with, like, hospital bad, life bad, everything bad for Tenma, his life is fucked, he really shouldn't have saved this kid, oh god, what has he done?
But he's okay, everything's fine.
Yeah, it turns out it was a little more complicated than that, and he lives happily for like 9 fucking years in this episode. So, yeah, this one starts off, as you may remember, at the end of the last episode, all of the people who ran the hospital were suddenly fucking killed.
Like 3 of them, not all of them.
So the police show up to Tenma's house and they tell him, and he's like, what the fuck? So he shows up to the hospital. I really think he should have hooked up with this nurse, because she clearly wanted him.
Absolutely.
But anyways, he shows up and he's just like, let's take control. What's going on? I hear everybody's dead. Let's keep it moving, though. Let's keep things good. Also, the kids have disappeared.
That's not good.
That's probably bad. Ellen said to live happily for 9 whole years, ... we'll all get there. We'll all get there one day. It's okay. We're all going to be happy one day.
What did they do to us?
What did they do to us? So yeah, here's the funeral. There's a nice moment where Tenma almost considers reaching out to console her, but some other guy beats him to the punch, and she throws this guy off and is like, bring my daddy back. I want my daddy. Which is not surprising to me, because this is a woman who's probably
that's his fiance, right?
Yeah, well, was.
Yeah, fuck that bitch.
Yeah, she's like, what, pushing 40 and still hangs out with her dad all the time?
I mean, I would say like 30, probably.
She definitely doesn't care about any other men other than her dad. So, yeah, she's just in a blind fury. And then,
this guy's weird as fuck. I forget what his name is, but he's constantly like typing with his offhand.
Yes, he's always like
just
fidgeting his fingers. At first I thought he had palsy or something, but then somebody
too.
asks and he explains, no, I'm typing out everything I hear so that it's recorded to my mental disc.
And when I press this button, that's when I get answers. He says something like that.
But yeah, apparently there was a nitrate-type poison that killed these people through candy. Somebody fed them poison candy. Ooh. And yeah, this is him explaining that he inputs all the information in his brain to his weird typing gimmick. He's just a funny guy. Kind of like L from Death Note, with all of his sitting in a chair like an autist and eating too much candy. So yeah, Tenma's expecting that he's going to be leaving this hospital soon, but it turns out, since everybody important died and he's the most skilled person they have, now he's chief of surgery. Woo!
Wow, none of his decisions meant anything.
He has a big breakdown and cry about it. He's just like, what the fuck is life? What doth life? This is messed up, man. I gotta say, as somebody who feels like I want to cry all the time, but somehow can't bring myself to, a little jealous of Dr. Tenma. Letting it all out. Let it all out. let it all out, like the Full Metal Alchemist song. Anyway, 9 years pass. Bam. Oh wait, not yet. First, this is actually my favorite scene in the whole episode. One of the coldest scenes in anime, where it's very brief. It just cuts to he's with her in a coffee shop, and she's like, "Hey, you tried to comfort me at Dad's funeral, didn't you?" And he's like,
No.
Kinda."
And he just goes, "No, I didn't."
Yeah, he's like, "I'm pretty sure not really," because he did think about it, but yeah, she just doesn't even realize that that wasn't him. All these men mean the same thing to her, interchangeable. He just gets up and walks out. She's like, "What if we tried again?" And he's like, doesn't say a word, stands up
and
leaves, doesn't turn back. She's like shouting after him, doesn't say anything. It's a beautiful moment. Oh yeah, there it is. There's him just stone cold. I love how short this scene is and how blunt it is. But this is where we have the 9 year time skip.
Hey, this guy's still around.
Yeah, right now people are just getting their throats slit and thrown into the fucking river.
And it's always couples without children.
Yes. And there's always something stolen, but not really a lot. So it doesn't seem likely to be a burglary. There's too much similarities between the cases. It seems like some kind of mass murderer, but that's all we really know. Also, I love all the setting details in this scene. They're in like a flooded part of town, something to do with the Berlin Wall falling, leading to something. I don't know. It was cool. So then
this guy's still around, and he's still pretty cool.
Well, I don't know if he's cool. He's he tries to hang out with Tenma because he knows that Tenma is super talented and that being around him is a good idea. But I don't know that Tenma really respects this guy all that much because he's kind of a sleazeball. There's this whole scene of Tenma trying to help this kid in a wheelchair fly a kite, and he's watching it, and he's just like, if I was in his shoes, I'd have at least 5 bitches.
Which is the correct way to be.
It just goes to show the difference in priorities. This guy wants to be a doctor because having money and power gets you laid. Tenma cares about life. He wants people to live and have a good life. So in the previous scene with the detective, they had also established that a master locksmith had been free, like, I don't know, freed from prison or he got out or something. Like, he was on the run and was spotted at the scene of several of these crimes. So they think that he was probably an accomplice to get into these houses because there's, these big fancy places.
Oh, yeah, this is, it's Junkrat. His last name's Junker.
Yeah, he's Junkrat. And he's suddenly in the middle of the streets in this very Akira-looking shot where a car, just guy driving suddenly runs into him and brains him on the sidewalk. Whoops. So the cops are like, hey, this is the guy. We kind of need him to live. Let's bring him to the best brain surgeon we know and see if he can do something. And they're like, we need this guy for a case. And he's like, I don't care about your case. I care about his life. And they're like, whatever, man. But detective is very suspicious of Tenma.
Because he thinks that Tenma killed the hospital people.
I don't know if he definitely thinks that he did it, but he knows that Tenma's the only person who gained anything from it having happened. So it's very suspicious that, maybe he was involved somehow. He also took note of the fact that when he called Tenma brilliant, Tenma's response was, I still have a long way to go. And so he's really fascinated with the humbleness and the facade of being like an underdog almost that this guy who's like the greatest brain surgeon ever is always giving off. But yeah, just big sus. And then of course he does successfully save this guy's life, but just like the little girl who ran into Johan, he's just like the fucking monster's coming. The monster ga kuru, he keeps saying in a crazed way.
Ooh,
and that's that episode. Do you need to take a break? I notice you've been standing for a moment.
I'm just trying not to fall asleep.
Alright, we're going to take like a 5-minute break. I'm going to mute us. We'll be back. Hey, we're back. We're here. We're alive again. We're once more audible. We're in the zone. We're ready to talk about the Zom 100, episode 2, which I really enjoyed.
It was fun. It was a good second episode of a show.
It did a good job of reinforcing, but also establishing new things, and also I had wondered with the first episode, because it had so much crazy expensive animation, will they do something to save in episode 2? And they did, and it was kind of clever. I didn't hate it. I didn't mind it, even if it was like an obvious cost cutting technique. I want to bring up, somebody mentioned in the comments that the studio that makes this show is a new studio formed apparently of members from OLM, which I'm pretty sure is the studio that makes Pokemon. But they used a company logo very similar to OLM's for the evil company from the first episode, sort of implying that the working conditions maybe were something like that where they came from, and that's why they split off. I definitely see this manga being something that people would read and be like, yeah, I can't do this job anymore. I'm gonna go fuck off and do my own art, especially as an artist. But what's so great about this story, and what I think this episode really sells us on, is that it is ultimately just it's just life with the extremes turned up, basically. It's just a story about how to live in the world normally, but turning up the level of danger that is apparent in the world by a lot. But the same rules still apply, and it's about learning to navigate life in a way that is humbling, fun. I guess, and fun. Yeah.
Day 2 of the zombie apocalypse, he cleans out his house, which is what we're seeing now. That's why a garbage bag is hitting a zombie. He climbs down because he runs out of beer.
Yeah, so the whole setup of this episode is our guy, because he's quit his job, is so excited about life now that he's cleaned his whole apartment. This show, it's one of those things where I don't know, I haven't seen a ton of zombie media, so I don't know if everything it's doing is cliche or been done before, but I've never seen a main character of a zombie thing take this as the opportunity to take care of their house and things. It makes sense, because if that's your stronghold, that if that's your survivable spot, yeah, you're gonna take care of it. But for him, it's just his house had been shit because he'd been working for so long. So it's I know the normal reality of I've let my room go for months and now I cleaned it and I feel better as a person. It's just funny to think of doing that in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. But he's pretty indifferent to the zombie apocalypse.
He doesn't seem to mind that much.
Yeah, he's kind of well, there's a scene where he watches TV and a news reporter gets bit by a zombie live on television.
That was a weird one, because the reporter and the cameraman could have just been helping with the door, and then maybe they could have survived.
That's definitely a common trope in zombie media, is seeing the news person right before the broadcast cuts out because they've been eaten or whatever.
Also, who's manning the switches to make the broadcast cut out? They could also be helping.
That's true. But yeah, so he has the thought of things are doing kind of well for me, but they're kind of fucked up in the world right now. And this I found really oddly relatable because of COVID. Because when COVID started, the world locked down, and this was right when I was coming out as transgender, and in a weird way, COVID benefited me in that I was suddenly walking around an empty world where everyone's wearing masks all the time.
Yeah.
And it was a lot easier for me to pass wearing a mask, because most, I want to say 90% of the reason I get clocked is that I have facial hair.
Yeah.
So when I was wearing the mask, I was actually misgendered way less often than I am currently, even though I look way more feminine than I did back then. It was just an excuse to walk around sort of in disguise, in a place where everybody's kind of scared, and it's not just me. You know, like the social anxiety I had felt my whole life felt like it suddenly had been reflected on the rest of society, which made me feel normal by comparison. So, like, at a time where everybody else was kind of locked down, I was going out more than probably anybody and more than I ever had. You know, like, because the world is just empty and it's a place I could go around by myself and not be bothered. So, you know, I understand where he's coming from in this mentality of like, wow, this situation really sucks on the whole, but it also liberated me from something that had been like crushing down on me. But like, really, I think what this show is going to explore is like, if the zombie apocalypse hadn't been his wake up call, would something have been? Like, would he ever have realized that he was living in a way that was killing him? Like, he was already becoming a zombie.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna see how that happens. But yeah, he's really excited about beer. Who knew skipping work and drinking beer first thing in the morning would taste so good? I did.
Yeah, beer's pretty good. I like that his beer says "Enjoy your life." I wish my beer had more positive slogans on it.
It's true. I love skipping work also. So
hey, you know it's fun.
So yeah, he runs out of beer, and there's this fun moment where we see some unrelated couple, and they're like freaking out. The zombies are breaking in. They're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" And then as the man goes out on the veranda to be like, "Somebody, please come for help," he just sees main character guy, like, you know, scuffling down, very nonchalant. He's like, "Yeah, I'm heading out to buy a beer. You guys want anything?" And
toilet paper?
she asks for specifically 2-ply toilet paper, which I thought was really fucking funny.
I mean, that 1-ply stuff, you just end up using more of it, and so...
Yeah. So... Yeah, he's just kind of heading out, and he's gonna do some errands. It's a fun moment of like setting up some kind of dramatic stuff, and then like undercutting it with humor, which I think this show it does its mood whiplash really well. Which I'm a big fan of mood whiplash in anime. Some people really hate it. You know, people whose favorite anime are things like Monster do not tend to be as into shows where the tone is completely fucking out of whack. But I like this kind of thing.
I don't know. Monster's got some tone whiplash going on.
I guess it does, but it's more like emotional whiplash than like, haha, funny, and then, oh.
Emotional whiplash.
So, as he goes to the store, he meets this incredibly hot girl.
Who has a bike with a GoPro on it.
She has rockin' tits. She's got a cool outfit. I believe the first thing I said when I saw her was, this girl probably does porn on Twitter. Just based on her outfit and her swagger, you know. She is a classic kudere archetype. That is a cool dere, a character who acts very cold and also very cool and badass, but is ultimately a soft sweetheart on the inside that will eventually warm up to the main character. I self-identify as a kudere myself. I had a bit of an obsession with the category of kudere. I used to run a blog cataloging them, but only for a little bit. I didn't do a lot of it.
Who's the best kudere?
Probably Nobuo Ito from Strawberry Marshmallow. She's the older sister who just kind of sits around smoking and drinking, watching girls be cute, and talking about Quentin Tarantino movies.
Wow.
So she's the first ever character I ever thought was literally me, is Nobuo Ito from Ichigo Marshmallow. Anyway, this girl is a kudere, but she's not a literally me because she's a different type of kudere, and I think they really fall into two categories. There's the ones who are standoffish because they're fucking insane, and then there's the one yeah, that's the category I fall into, like Shiki from Kara no Kyokai, who's just out of her fucking mind, and that's why she's not particularly like intelligent or anything. She's just cray cray. I guess she is supposed to be intelligent, but she doesn't really seem to care or like be using that for anything. This character is more standoffish because she's like, I know what I'm doing and I'm not trying to waste my time fucking talking to dipshits like this idiot.
She wants to live. She's gonna live.
She's very determined to live through this zombie apocalypse. So he just kind of tries to small talk her. She's kind of ignoring him at first. And then he's like, hey, what if we traded information? And she says to him, look, you seem like somebody who really doesn't understand the level of danger that is around you because you have gone out to the store to get beer. So I'm not giving you my contact information. Fuck off. I love the way this scene is posed because the way that they shot this, it's really obvious she's about to do something badass to these zombies. Like, she's let them get really close, so and like just the way she's acting so like superior, it's like, okay, she probably has something she can do to fight them. But then he jumps in front of her thinking he's gonna like defend her from the zombies, and she immediately yanks him back and throws him on the ground
because a truck is coming.
Yeah, a truck comes barreling through and fucks up all the zombies. So it's interesting just because you get this like, this feels like it's about to be a cathartic moment of her beating up the zombies that gets subverted and then subverted again, but like even harder because her throwing them onto the ground is actually the satisfying surprise right before the even bigger, oh shit, that's what she was gonna do, is a truck. And you also called this the Cyberpunk Edge Runners moment.
Yeah, because she there's like a shot of where she has him on the ground. Yeah. And she's looking down at him.
And the camera's pointed up at her, and it's like exactly the same as in Edge Runners episode 2.
She didn't summon the truck. She just knew it was coming because of the camera on her bike. It's a zombie driving truck.
I would also consider that girl from Cyberpunk to be a kudere type. But I feel like she got dere really fast because she kind of fucked on the first date.
What's the best type of dere?
Kudere.
Oh, that's the best one.
Yeah, I mean, I ran a whole blog about it.
Are there any other, like, runner-ups?
I mean, everybody loves tsundere.
Is that Mirai Nikki?
No, she's...
Yandere.
Yandere. That is also a high-tier form of dere. I would say maybe after kudere, yandere is pretty up there.
What's a dere for a girl who's just really into tanks?
Really into tanks?
Yeah, like girls in Panzer.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyway.
So this scene was really cool and dope. Looked great. He is like kind of taken aback by the fact that she, called him out so hard. He's like, maybe I am a little weird, but you know what? Beer is good.
Maybe I am a fucking idiot.
Well, that's how he's gonna feel after he gets back to the room.
Well,
and he's
so
like,
wait. Before that, on his way home, he steals an electric bike, and then he realizes he can steal a motorcycle, and so he motorcycles home, and that's cool.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'm having a good time. Life is fun." And then he's crawling up the thing, and at this moment, as soon as it cut into his face, I was like, "Oh, they're dead." And they're dead. They're dead. Of course, they're dead. They had zombies at the door when he left.
They weren't at the door. They were just, looking down at them.
I'm just saying, the place was swarming with zombies. I don't know how he thought they were going to be fine. He just didn't think about it that hard. So now he's sad drinking instead of happy drinking.
Yeah, which, you'll go through a lot more beer that way. That
is true. My dreams are all dead and buried. Anyway,
so we also learned that the girl has a list of her own.
Well, not yet. We learned that after this.
Okay, sorry.
I have a screen cap for it. He has this book that he starts writing. 100 things that birds making a big crying face. One day we'll have to make this a visual show because there's so much is lost on the bird making faces at me part of this show. Anyways, he
$20.
He starts writing down all these life goals. He crosses out the first 5 or 6 because the stuff he already did. And he only gets to 30 before he runs out of ideas, which I think is cool because I, as somebody who is a listing person, I make lists. These days, I've mostly been making Spotify playlists. If you go to We Watch Anime's Discord server and you go to the We Love Stuff channel, you'll find me posting links to Spotify songs. Anyways, Yeah, I like making lists, and yeah, sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna do 100, and then I get to like this list.
Amy said that there's an extra chapter in the manga that says the couple actually survived.
Oh, really?
And now they're just traveling around doing all the trips they...
So this is where the episode switches perspective. This was an interesting format for the episode. But now we go into the girl's life, and we start off with her in her, like, I guess high-rise condo is what I would call it. She's like a high-tech person. She's got her multiple monitors. She's doing all kinds of supplements. She's got a, workout station in her room. She's all set up. And she's watching horror movies all the time, basically anything with zombies in it, trying to research zombies,
there's there's 3 kinds of zombies. Fast zombies, slow zombies, and I don't remember what
just fucking crazy-ass, out-of-control, strong-ass zombies. But yeah, because like fast and slow are the ones that are observed in movies and commented on in other movies. But in this case, they have all of them, which is unique. They got the fast and the slow, and just like irate, fucked up zombies. So she's
How long
like,
have you been doing that?
What?
Rating fucked up zombies.
20 years.
Oh.
So yeah, she's like, I am trying to survive. I'm trying to live.
Who knew a single beer could make someone that happy in a state of emergency? And then she flashes back to the strawberry mochi.
Yeah, this episode goes back through the entire scene we saw at the convenience store.
Which was a lot,
Yeah, like, so this is what I was saying, that I had a feeling they would probably try to find a way to save some money after that first episode, save some time, some effort, especially if they're complaining about overwork. It only makes sense they would find some way to not overwork themselves. So there is a significant amount of reused animation in this episode, but it's done kind of cleverly because, again, we're in her perspective, so it's like, here's all the shit she was thinking during that interaction earlier. And, like, we can clearly see that she knew about the zombies were encroaching the whole time. She was, like, just basically noticing all the stuff that he's not paying attention to while she sets up for this truck she sees being controlled by zombies to go through the door, which she only expected to happen based on her trope knowledge from movies, which is a little bit silly. I thought maybe somebody she knew was going to turn out to be driving that van.
That's what I thought too, but
hey. No, she just kind of thought this would happen because she knows zombie media that well, and life imitates art or whatever. Sure. So yeah, it's a fun retread of the scene. I really like her as a character because she's a hard ass, but it's built out of this kind of desperation. Like, she's obviously just a lot more afraid than main character guy is, and so this sets up a really cool dichotomy of lifestyles because, yeah, like you said, she has her own list, 100 things to do to avoid becoming a zombie.
Number 6 is don't eat sugar.
Yeah, don't eat too much sugar. And that's why she is, she's reflecting on the fact, like, she can't believe that guy would have gone out just to get beer, but then she thinks about this one candy that she wanted, and she's like, maybe I should have done that. Maybe I should have got some sugar. Maybe I shouldn't be
even
quite
in a
so
zombie
strict with
apocalypse,
myself.
pretty girls deserve a little treat.
It's true. So... yeah, this episode, again, we're setting up this sort of ideological difference of... And I think it's interesting, too, because the main character was a workaholic. It's not like he's a frivolous type of person. It's not like he's somebody who, who doesn't know how to sort of put out effort. It's just that he doesn't know how to work smart, not hard, basically. He's somebody who overworked himself, who was in a job that was taking advantage of him, who basically was falling apart and becoming a zombie because he wasn't doing the things.
What did they do to us?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're going to see him, my prediction for the next episode or at some point nearby, is we're going to see him almost sort of zombify himself by way of trying to overcorrect in the other direction and, like, be more militant with himself like she is. At least that would be interesting. Maybe he won't even do that at all. Manga readers can let me know, I guess. But yeah, like, I like the idea that she's coming at it from the position of like everything in life is to survive, but we all die. Like there's lots of people who live their real lives this way. I guess the stereotype would be that one guy from Parks and Rec who's like obsessed with biking and like being vegan and all that kind of stuff. Both of our dads.
Yeah.
Like there's a type of person who is like, I'm going to live as long. Not that your dad is like this. He surfs and shits, which is dangerous as fuck. But like, there's some people who just won't ever do anything dangerous. They're always like, I take my vitamins. I brush my teeth twice a day. I'm always taking care of myself.
You should brush your teeth twice a day.
I'm just saying, they're always taking care of themselves, and it's like, yeah, but what if you fucking get struck by lightning? All that taking care of yourself shit, and you died at 45 anyway because you got hit by fucking lightning.
Most people don't get struck by lightning.
I'm just saying that, oh god, I'm trying to remember the name of this author. Was it Kurt Vonnegut who was like, I've been smoking Camels for 70 years because they said it would kill me, but I'm still here. Then he died like 2 years later. But
there you go.
The point is, it takes a really long time to die sometimes, and you're never really sure why. You're like, hey, maybe I lived to be 102 even though I took care of nothing. Or maybe I get cancer suddenly, and I'm just gone. And,
I saw someone who lived to be like 99 or 100, and she claimed her secret was hot Dr. Pepper.
I've seen that with cups of wine brought up a lot. A lot of old ladies are like, I just wined until I was 103.
All right. Anime.
My point is simply that, you do got to take care of yourself because it will make you happy. But if taking too much care of yourself is keeping you from being happy, then you're no longer taking care of yourself. And I think that's what's going to be explored between these two characters. Alright, that's it for Zom 100 episode 2. It's time to talk about Steins Gate.
I liked this episode. It was cute. It was fun.
This to me is kind of peak Steins Gate. This is when the show is like this is what I remember Steins Gate for. What I really like about it is just the chemistry of these characters, their interactions as they try to puzzle together what the fuck is going on in this story. And there's always been a lot of people who say that this show takes like 9 episodes to pick up because the story gets way more dramatic in episode 9. Like crazy shit starts happening. But to me, this is like the appeal of the show is the chemistry, the great voice performances by all these characters, and just the topic of conversation that they're having. The fact that Makise Kurisu shows up at the lab, and
Christina.
Like, Okanin is immediately upset because he's like, well, how the fuck did you get here? How do you even know about this? What is going on with you? And she's just like, calm down. I, was trying to figure out what your deal is, so I asked around, and I was led here. But I was expecting something a bit more serious.
Lab-like.
From, like, a laboratory. And so, And
then he immediately gets on his phone and goes, I've found a member of the organization at my laboratory.
Yeah, which I don't know. There's reasons for him to be suspicious of her, especially after this happened. She walked in right after they just discovered time travel, which they don't even quite realize yet. But he's just kind of freaking out, and also he's awkward because she's incredibly beautiful and famous, and offers to shake his hand, and he cannot bring himself to touch her.
A 3D? I would never.
And he just starts. A lot of the time in this episode, I feel like it's starting to become sort of apparent that he's doing the whole schizo thing as just a way to offset the fact that he's awkward as shit and just doesn't again know how to communicate with her, and especially because the situation is confusing. Every time he meets her, the circumstances are very strange, and also it's awkward to talk to her for him. So I also I can't stop thinking about, I don't know, maybe this is something I didn't pay as much attention to when I watched this show when I was younger, because I didn't have as many physical human interactions, but I can't stop thinking about how tall he is compared to her, and like just she's the tiniest little thing. She is like a twig.
Christina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kurisu is very small, and like
most of the girls in this show are pretty small.
A lot of anime don't pay that much attention to like specific body type and what it means, but the fact that like Okabe is like particularly a tall and lanky dude, and Daru is a big, tall, fat guy, you know, and like the two of them are both kind of imposing, and they play into that, but also are really shy about it. And so it's interesting that like Okabe will do things like he comes up to her and he kind of like puts his arm on the wall and is like looking all big and threatening, but she is just so not. Like, she doesn't care. She's not impressed with this. She just keeps telling him, like, you know, I could sue you for, like, all your behavior towards me. And so the show keeps laying into the fact that she's been living in America for a long time. She's always talking about lawsuits. She almost forgets to... living in America. She's like forgets to take off her boots at first when she's coming into the house, and then she offers a handshake, and when he won't do it immediately, she's like, Japanese men don't know how to do anything. So yeah, she completely has forgotten her Japanese roots and disrespecting Japanese culture all up and down the block. But then she says,
who'd eat a pervert's banana anyway?
Yeah, because she immediately comes into the room, pokes her finger into the banana, and starts eating it. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I wouldn't eat your pervert's banana. And he's like, could you say that again? But with a...
like a disappointed face.
Yeah, and then she realizes, you know, what they're thinking, and it's all like, oh, you guys are both perverts. And then he's like, oh, what were you picturing, huh?
You're a pervert for picturing.
What were you thinking about? And, like, throughout this scene, again, I feel the need to mention, they all keep dropping, like, 2-channel lingo, or just, like, referencing, like, the structure. Like, Daru's always saying things like, are we in this thread? And Kurisu also drops references to this. So that's why they keep insisting, like, oh, we know you're one of us. We know you're a pervert. We know you're a weirdo. We know you're an internet person, because it creeps through in the way that you communicate. So they're always trying to fuck with her. And then, yeah, he nicknames her Christina, which I really think is...
I'm sorry, what?
Christina.
Thank you.
It's a pretty legendary voice moment. I can hear a lot of the things he calls her in my head. Because he also calls her the zombie a lot.
The zombie.
Because of the fact that, you know, he saw her dead. They're all good nicknames. I think the Christina thing is specifically because she's so Americanized.
I see. Like, that's cute.
Yeah, I think he decided... Because he hadn't called her that before, but it's like after she's really laying in with all the...
this is a really weird screen cap. His face looks weird.
He's in the middle
sideways.
of making the T noise. That's why.
I see. Oh, yes. Yes.
Mayushi shows up singing this adorable karaage song as she goes up the stairs. I love Kana Hanazawa's voice so much. And she comes up and just gives a... This is what I would call a glomp.
Glomp.
Very popular with girls who go to conventions in the early 2000s. But yeah, she comes up and glomps her. She's just like, wow, another female. And I think it's very telling of Kurisu that her response to this is to blush and hug back and say how nice it is, whereas with the other guys, you know, with the guys it's sexual harassment. Yeah. But it's okay when Mayushi does it because she's cute and everybody loves her. Anyway, they test out the microwave and it ends up fucking like exploding in this crazy ass array of lightning. And I think it's very telling and very important to note that Okabe immediately jumps on Mayushi, like, to protect her. This is very much his personality to the core. It's all to protect. Do it for her. What are you looking at? You're looking at memes over there?
Maybe.
What are these memes you're looking at? Why are you looking at these memes? Oh, you're trying to make a joke about Kurisu being okay. It's the looking good Susan Hello Human Resources meme. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can Google that.
It's because in the first slide it's an attractive man, and in the second slide it's an ugly man.
Yeah, but it's also been a meme format used many times. Anyways, he rescues Mayushi from this explosion. I theorize that this moment may be how they get actually noticed by an evil organization. Without spoiling too much, I think this is.
I don't think they're evil. They're just trying to stop the time travel.
Well, we'll see how that. What that amounts to. This is where the conversation turns to CERN because John Titor keeps talking about them in his notes, and as they're supposedly going to institute a new world order at some point, and they just unveiled the Large Hadron Collider, which at this point I believe has been decommissioned. But also there's more than one of these in existence now, I think.
Yeah, there's one here in the United States.
But yeah, this was kind of new when Steins Gate, the visual novel, came out, because I remember when the Large Hadron Collider was announced, and that was the late 2000s. And I definitely think that Steins Gate was someone found out about the concept that this thing might be able to create a miniature black hole and just had Steins Gate is in its entirety the schizo post that came from one engineer's freaking out over the idea that somebody could create a black hole. There's oh my god, CERN's gonna take over the world, why else do they need that thing? There's a scene where Daru kind of goes over all the machines at CERN with this love. He calls it the Large Hadron Collider Ton, which is a very cutesy way of referring to something. Basically, doing that thing where you anthropomorphize everything, which 2-Channel loves to do. And then we have another scene with the mysterious bike girl.
And she says CERN, John Titor. She says all the buzzwords.
Yes, she is. Basically says that she had been listening in to their conversations, and also that she has looked into some of this John Titor stuff on the internet. But basically, the main clue she gives is why the IBN is so important is because it...
John Titor mentioned it originally.
Yes, and the reason is that it was the last computer that was made before the... basic programming language was standardized, and so it's capable of reading something, I don't know.
You can code your way into dimensional rifts.
Yeah, apparently. So she has a clue into why the IBN is important. She's basically being dodgy this whole conversation. Again, you could probably figure out what her deal is if you really, really think about it.
Is she from the future?
I'm not going to spoil anything because I just want people to think about it.
Can you look at me and shake your head yes or no? Is she from the future? Okay. Darn, I thought she was from the future, but it turns out she's not.
Yeah, this scene, mostly just remind you that she's around, but... It's also in the midsection here, Kurisu ran out of the laboratory because they mentioned
time machine.
Well, they basically confirmed that it probably is time travel because they sent a text message back in time. He's able to prove that. He's wait a minute, I've got the message that you received today or whatever yesterday. I have proof that I sent it a week ago. And also, that banana is back on the thing, so it probably went back in time. This is time travel. Kurisu hears this and she just runs away. John Titor on the internet is explaining that basically world lines change all the time in response to a decision made.
This is the multiverse explained speech that is necessary for this show, as it is necessary in a lot of today's popular media.
This one is a pretty complicated multiverse, though, because it has bullshit, no reason rules that exist just so that the plot of this anime specifically can exist. But basically... because we all know, the idea of multiverse, what if every single decision you made the other decision in a different universe, or, every single possibility exists somewhere in the multiverse or whatever. Well, specifically in this case, if you go back in time and change something, you create a new world line. However, they aren't that different from one another, and ultimately they will probably reconverge at some point. However, if you were to change something major, like for instance to go and kill somebody, then that will create a totally new world line, and you'll cross like this division point where now like there's no chance it's going to go back to being like the way it was before. So like basically this is all just to say that there's like, you know, there's like a certain level of different that things have to be before it's like, this will never be like it was, and like we're kind of in a new universe. As opposed to just like a light parallel. I guess it's the difference between like a super far away parallel and like a close parallel of universes. This will all super matter eventually.
There's a scene where they're all eating food,
yes.
and Ocarina steals a beef strip from Best Girl.
He makes like a deal with her. So this is the reason I chose this screen cap, is I wanted to talk about how, as we were watching this episode, I started writing like a whole convention panel in my head of Steins Gate's complicated relationship with communism and capitalism. Because explicitly we are told that when CERN takes over the world in John Titor's future, they do so through communism and I don't remember what else he says about it. But basically, yeah, they've implemented some kind of... Oh, he says that the living standards have returned to an 1800s status.
That sounds not good.
Yeah, it's an odd thing to say. Like, are we literally like in the 1800s? Like are we back in like the same types of houses and shit? I don't know, but that's the claim. So communism bad? Is that what the show's trying to say? The bad guys are communists? But then again, the laboratory is pretty much a pure commune. Everybody contributes to it. It's just kind of a hangout space that all these people get to use. You know, it's there's not really... So, like, all of the money coming into the lab is just purely Mayuri, who has a regular job, and her money ends up getting used by Okabe for basically whatever he feels like. You know, Daru works on various projects. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing, but deciding if they feel like it to work together. So, in a way, like, a very pure functioning communist sect is the good guys. But at the same time, Okabe has a very capitalist, ends justify the means kind of mindset. And, like, we see in this scene how, like, for instance, he's a bad barterer. He offers her, hey, in exchange for one of your beef sticks, you can have one of, like, my mushrooms or something like that. Just an obvious bad trade nobody would want. And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, okay, how about I trade you one of these, like, the fish cake or whatever?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I guess I like that more than the mushroom. And he's like, negotiations have completed. And it's like, neither of those does she want more than the beef stick. She tries to ask him for something she likes, which is the egg thing. And he's like, no, I like that almost as much as I like the beef stick. And she's like, yeah, but I like both of those things more than the thing you're offering me. Nonetheless, he just kind of bullies her and, you know, eats the beef before she even notices. But she's just kind of happy about the fact that he's happy. So, I don't know. It's an interesting thing where, like, Okabe is always just kind of taking from people. He also runs out on a bill for Daru at one point, which to me is a very capitalist mindset of, like, I just take what I want because I am great and my existence is greater than other people's, and they exist so that I can have a better existence. And ultimately, because he is literally the good guy, the savior, the one who's going to make everybody live, you know, if possible, he is kind of justified in being the way he is by the show. So is he a capitalist superhero, or are they a communist?
Super commune.
Super commune. I don't know. It's complicated. We'll explore this more as we go into the show, I guess.
Oh, hey,
Human
look.
is dead.
It's his lab coat. Oh, right. They hack CERN.
Yes, Daru successfully hacks in and gets to their files, and while they haven't said anything about a time machine, they have talked a lot about this odd project.
A black hole
exists. Of creating a miniature black hole, and also they have these very scary words. Human is dead. And he's like, what the fuck?
What human?
So... Also, part of this we have to note is that they could not figure out how to replicate what happened with the microwave again.
Yeah.
They cannot figure out why it's not sending messages back in time. I think the next episode is going to explain that, so I'm not going to bother. But yeah, those that's kind of where we're at. But yeah, I thought this episode was a ton of fun. Like, it explains some of what's going on. The characters' interactions are just really enjoyable. It's not that they're all, like, necessarily good people. It's just, like, this is realistic interaction between nerds. It's like, yeah, I totally believe that even if the situation is ridiculous, this is how these types of people would act in that situation. And that's what makes it, like, click for me and work as a representative piece of otaku media.
Steins Gate is good.
Alright, this is the last anime we've got to talk about tonight. Good old Mushoku Tensei. Alright, look at him. Look at him. He's gotten beefy. He named his legs and arms.
Didn't you do that?
No. No, I find that kind of weirdly dissociative. Like if I was calling my leg a name all the time, I would really feel like it was a separate entity from myself, and that would be freaky. It would give me a weird relationship with my body, I think. Not that I don't already have one, but I don't need it to get any weirder.
Alright, so anyway, whatever. Rudius is working out. He's strong now. That's
the Rudius has been taking on missions. He's trying to improve his reputation with the Adventurers Guild. He's Quagsire?
He goes by Quagmire.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which for a character that's very perverted, you knew what you were doing. Giggity.
I don't know. This author has an interesting way of handling story. Like, before, this is like the second time that Rudius has been like, I'll just stay in one place and get famous until my family finds out about me. And it's like, that didn't really work last time, did it? Is that how his dad found him? He's just doing it to
make money, because he's like...
No, he explicitly says, like, I'm gonna get, like, famous enough that my mom will find out about me.
Oh, well, that's not very smart.
No, I'm pretty sure he did almost exactly that before. So yeah, he's been taking missions, he's been getting stronger, his reputation has improved, people kind of like him now. There's
a girl. I don't remember
this goofy ass scene.
Oh right, this is the opening.
Yeah.
I hate about Mushoku Tensei that the openings sometimes have plot in them.
Almost always.
Yeah.
I think from like the second half of season 1 onwards, like they always play an OP and they change the OP all the time. And they play it over, like, events happening in the story, which can be very dramatic and cool, but when you just do it apropos of nothing all the time... But the worst part with this episode is the song doesn't fit the tone at all. It's like this very modern, kind of, like, upbeat pop rock song, and, like... The scene is Rudius, like, shoveling snow in a town square and, like, helping this little girl who fell over, like, heal her leg. The animation is fugly throughout a lot of this scene. Just the show's really fallen off in its visual quality in a lot of ways. And, yeah, again, this music didn't fit the scene. It's very awkwardly paced, and they didn't like... animate it in a way that fits with an opening song. It just feels like a normal ass scene. And as soon as the song is over and it just starts playing like the like normal like folk Celtic kind of music that you would expect to play in this scene, and I was like, why wasn't that there the whole time? Like, that's the music of that scene we just watched, not whatever the fuck that pop music was. But you know, Sony Music Japan, you do you.
What is this that we're looking at? Where are they here? Are they in the cave already?
Yeah.
Okay, so skipped over a bit here. Rudius, he hears a guy announce that the guy's party is going to take on a real dangerous job in the Adventurers Guild. They kind of have a standoff about it.
That doesn't even happen yet until after this moment. That's later in the cave.
No, a different standoff.
A different
Yeah,
standoff.
I think him and that green-robed guy kind of like got into it a little bit in the...
No, that happens a little later. So it's like...
No, I know what you're talking about, where the green guy like just doesn't like Rudius at all, but I'm pretty sure they like had a little tiff in the Adventure Guild.
That hasn't happened yet.
No, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, you're saying that he argues with him at the start.
Yeah, not in the cave.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Anyway, so Rudius sees...
Oh my god, wait, hold on. Amy said, oh yeah, remember that Rudius can see the future? I like how that literally never shows up except for this scene. What a legend this author is.
He can see like 2 seconds into the future or something.
I did forget, though. I'm surprised that hasn't come up a lot more.
They're not really drawing it into his eye anymore. But so Rudius is with that party with the 2 girls and the couple guys. They are in a cave to collect Snowdrake's scales. So they're gonna walk over a bridge, and then the bridge breaks or something, and so Rudius
catches her by the boobs. She's happy he saved her, but why'd you have to grab my boobs?
Well, I think she even says like, "Hey, be more careful next time," and he goes, "I thought I was being careful."
Yeah, I think so. Interestingly enough, Rudius shows almost no sexual interest in this girl, even though she is by far the hottest girl in the show. I don't think Rudius is attracted to breasts.
Interesting.
When we watch this show on the site we watch it on,
Crunchyroll,
they always have this image of like the 3 main girls, and all I can think is there's not a tit between the 3 of them. Like, they're all super flat. And, you know, Rudius, as soon as he met the one girl, was like, oh, Lolly, deadpan Lolly, my favorite. Like, I just don't think he I don't think he cares for the titty. I think him getting this titty grab moment didn't do anything for him. Then again, he did really like the maid growing up.
That is true.
But
she
mostly,
had big titties.
It's mostly about her panties. I'm not sure if it's her panties that he still has at the end of these episodes.
No, it's the blue-haired chick, Roxy.
Roxy's panties? Okay, yeah, that's right.
Alright, next slide.
Yeah, alright,
okay, so...
Yeah, here's their run-in.
While Rudius and the gang were collecting Snowdrake scales, they got attacked by a bunch of Snowdrakes. This party is also there because they were hunting the Snowdrakes. They get into a little confrontation where Rudius is like, hey, that place you guys were supposed to be hunting, those is 2 days away. And it explains that the cave system connects.
You have to mention that this starts with, like, they basically rescue this other team, and then the guy from that team just punches their long-haired dude in the face.
Yeah,
like,
that's
right
pretty
off.
rude.
And I thought it was interesting he punched that guy in specific.
Because you think they want to fuck.
Well, this episode's definitely going to try to suggest that. My overall theory on this sword man is that he is a repressed homosexual who gets really upset when he sees people that make him feel gay. And in particular, that is anybody who is just kind of being a weak little twink in his vicinity. So he has to try to beat the gay out of them, or the twink out of them, rather. That's my overall take on this guy psychologically. But basically, he immediately beats up their twink and is like, "You guys are like stealing our mission." And they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And Rudius is like, "Oh yeah, he did mention having a mission in this cave." And she's like, "That cave is literally not this cave, you fucking moron. We had no way of knowing this was your mission." And he's like, "Well, and they kind of fuck off about it. And then later on, when they're all at the pub, he is shit-faced and he comes over and he's like, "Guys, I'm sorry. That was my bad."
But then he does.
I fucked up.
He's like, "Hey, Rudius, though, I hate you for real. You're the worst."
Well, so it starts off with him coming up to Twink Guy, and he's at first kind of bullying him and being like, "Why are you such a little, like a passive little gay boy?" And he's like, literally like on his shoulders, like fucking this guy. It was just really funny because, like, after the punch scene, just the way that scene resolves, because long hair guy kind of like is like, "Oh, you know what? It's no big deal, man. It's totally you're fine." And I was like, those two are gonna bang. And then
you want to go
scene,
get some Pokeballs later, bro?
Yeah, exactly. Right after that, had already happened, and I was like, yeah, these two are gay. Then this scene happened, and I was like, wow, all of my suspicions are confirmed. But like, he basically gets on long hair guy and is like, "You need to be less of a little bitch." And he's like, "You know what? You're right." And he's like, "Good, you're straight now. But you, Rudius, you are the biggest twink of all, and you really need to straighten yourself out. You really got to stop sitting there with this look on your face like you have the worst life out of anybody. You're just an
it's
asshole.
that he's smiling.
Well, yeah, he's like, that smile's not real. Your smile's fake. You treat everybody like shit. You should have taken the money for the things. You need money, but he literally goes in for like minutes on end. He just gets shit-faced.
I'm curious where this guy knows Rudius from.
Dude, yeah, this guy has, by the way, never been in this fucking show before. Like, we were introduced to him a few minutes ago as the dumb fuck who was in the wrong cave and beat up their twink about it, and now he's just laying in on Rudius like he's been... Now, granted,
Is this a government-issued twink?
They've been, like, implying that everybody, knows who he is and just kind of doesn't like him or has been ignoring it, doesn't know what his deal is. So maybe this guy has seen him for a long time and always wanted to say these things. But he really does just kind of lay in out of fucking nowhere. It's awkward. The writing in this show is very clumsy. This was an even more awkward scene. This is the most weird scene transition I've witnessed in a while, because that whole sequence of the guy yelling at him, like, it all happens in this pub, and then that scene kind of ends, and it cuts to within the same pub, like, Rudius sitting all alone being sad. And it seems like this is just maybe a couple hours later. Like, there's no reason to think that this is
right.
like a different day or something. And then
the party shows up and they're like, "Oh yeah, 2 people just died."
They're like, "Yeah, Sarah, the blonde-haired girl, and our other guy who you don't remember are just dead now." And you're like, "Wait,
what?
Are we not on the same day? Like, what? Wait, did that other scene not just happen? What the? Why would you cut to the same location for a time skip, and like in such an unclear, like, we didn't have a moment of them saying, all right, we're gonna go adventure now. Why wasn't Rudius with them? Like, I guess he just only sometimes takes it. Like, it was just such an awkward cut ahead. And yeah, they just walk in and they're like, yeah, 2 of our guys are dead. We're sad about it. But
wait, no. Only one of them's dead, but Sarah might be alive.
Yeah, Sarah could be alive, but we had to get out of there.
You hear that, Rudius? Sarah might be alive.
So he's like, yeah, where'd you lose her?
Yeah.
Also, for no reason, I'm going out there. And none of them question this, I guess. This show has become Sword Art Online. And I have to mention, because this pissed me off, somebody commented, they were like, well, this show is actually the influential one, so all the shows that are like it are copying it. Look, I have a whole video about this. I have a video about called, like, how influential is Mushoku Tensei or something like that on Yig Studio. But basically, yeah, the light novel series, the web novel series was quite influential. but it does not predate Sword Art Online as a web novel, which started in like 2001. And I don't even know if it predates the anime adaptation. I think it does. But even still, like, there were plenty of trope-heavy things that came out before, you know, like, these tropes are not original to Mushoku Tensei. This show is not terribly original in the grand scheme of things. Yes, it was hugely influential and inspired a lot of things to be exactly like it.
I mean, did Slime come out before or after this?
After. Slime definitely is part of the wave of things that ripped off this light novel.
Alright, well, anyway, so Rimuru goes to Rudius goes to the place where the person was killed, sees the body of the person was killed, and was like, dang, they really did, though.
I thought this scene was fun just because of the fact that we've really been in, like, this world is an RPG video game, like, kind of state of mind lately with this show. And, like, this area, he's, like, using these items to just, like, take out all these mobs, and there's piles of corpses that are very much like set dressing from a video game, except that, like, one of the guys he knows is in one of the pile of corpses. I just thought, like, imagine playing Bloodborne where there's, like, all these rooms with just hundreds and hundreds of
like,
bodies.
Hey, wait a second, that's Phil.
Yeah, exactly. So... yeah, that guy's dead, but
he saves
Sarah's
Sarah.
Not. Wow.
Sarah gets naked at one point. We get to see some boobs.
Yeah, because her clothes were all fucked up.
Oh, and he's healing her.
I will say this is the first fan service scene in this show that does something for me.
Ooh.
Because she's actually hot.
I thought the maid was hot.
The maid is hot, I guess. She's not really my type, though. This girl is perfect. Her body is literally like a 10 out of 10. Perfect tits. She's got a nice round butt, good belly. I like that they showed her belly.
Oh, yeah, right.
Good lighting in this
she was
shot.
captured by, like, some kind of tree thing.
Yeah, she was inside, like,
It was like a spooky ghost tree or something.
yeah, Evil Dead tree. That's the one I was looking for.
Anyway, nothing happens. They don't bang.
Yeah, so my theory on this relationship, because... you know, that other guy basically accused Rudius of being a big twink. So I think that when this girl, who's obviously a lesbian, wasn't getting any attention from the other bigger girl who's paying more attention to Rudius, I think she started catching feeling for Rudius because she also realized that he's a big twink and that maybe it wouldn't be that different from having a girlfriend. And so she really considers banging him in this cave, but doesn't do it. She just kind of chickens out. She's like, you know, whatever. And he never shows any interest. Again, I assume he just doesn't like tits. And I gotta say, don't relate in this case. She's pretty much got the best tits imaginable. Alright, we gotta get these tits off the screen before I lose monetization or something. So yeah, he brings Sarah back. At first, the bigger girl is, like, upset with him. She's like, you could have gotten killed too. And then Sarah's like, defends him. She's like, hey, bitch, don't talk to him like that. She helped me. And she's like, you know what? You're right. I'm being a cunt. And then Twinkie Man comes over and is straight up crying. He's just like, I can't believe you saved her. I'm so happy. Let's have a big Twinkie hug. I don't know. They're both trans. Let's do it. Every anime is trans now. That's the only way I want to live my life. Here's the panties. He's still got them. You know, he's still got the enshrined panties. I don't know. Is this straight behavior? Is this how straight cis men behave? Do straight cis men keep a woman's panties inside of a box and worship it? Is this normal behavior?
You know, I've never personally done it.
Well,
but I'm also not a straight cis man.
I was going to say, you don't think you fit the qualifications. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think that a straight cis man or a trans gay woman... well, let's say which one's more likely. Who is more like... What is Rudius more likely to be? A trans gay woman or a straight cis man?
Straight cis man, I think.
Which one is more likely to keep panties in a box and worship them? I want to know your answers. I think
in terms of which one is more likely, a gay trans woman would be more likely.
What is your basis?
I don't know. I just feel like
basis.
Just got an inkling.
I think it's just easier to maybe get a hold of the underwear. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what the deal is with this guy. Why is he like this?
He sure is strange.
Why is he only into flats, not into tits? Why are closeted gay men so frustrated with him? Why are open, frustrated lesbians so gay with him? Am I reading too deep into all of this because the show is really boring and I have to entertain myself with gay fantasies because I'm a fujoshi?
And more than any of those questions, did we watch anime?
We definitely watched anime, and you can watch anime with us by subscribing to our Patreon. We have bonus episodes about Bocchi the Rock and Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Our next episode is going to be about Keep Your Hands Off the Azoken. And then we are probably soon going to try to launch a We Read Manga podcast exclusive to our patrons. And you know, the sooner we make money off of this podcast, the sooner we can do it at reasonable hours of the day when we're not eepy as all fuck. And I'll be able to do all the fun things I want to do with it. This show could be expanded so heavily if we didn't have a day job. It's not even funny. So yeah. That's it.
Anime forever. Right? Did you need to say anything else?
Anime forever.
Anime forever.
Anime forever.